on the Black Business Beat.
Lowe's has the brands pros trust to get the job done. You can now shop new Catalyst fencing solutions and save big when you do. 10% off when you buy in bulk. Plus, save $180 on a DeWalt 12-inch dual bevel sliding compound miter saw. Now just $449. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 5/6 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Confidence is knowing you're ready to handle whatever comes your way. That's what it feels like to take on your workday with Cintas. They make sure your AEDs are up to date, your fire extinguishers are tested and inspected, your floor mats are cleaned and delivered, and your workwear looks good, feels good, and is freshly laundered with the Cintas Apparel Plus program. So are you ready to take on today? Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
He steps to the mic with a boom, ping, ping. Wisdom sharper than a beast's fierce sting. Words like fireflies that light the night. He turns the dark into blazing bright. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, oh, the airwaves king. Shake the ground, unveils the truth where lies abound. Politics, justice, social streams. He molds the chaos into dreams. No silence here, just the sound of change. Boom, ping, ping, rearrange. Boom, ping, ping, the truth takes wing. Milwaukee's voice, let the city sing. Boom, ping, ping, hear the freedom ring. Sherwin's the king, or the airwaves king. Through the static, through the noise, he amplifies the people's voice. Boom, ping, ping, like a heartbeat's call. He's got the wisdom to break down walls. Yeah. Da, 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 da.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. Today is Monday, May 4th, 2026. Got some folks we're going to be talking to today at 10 a.m. Reverend Dr. Alex G. is going to call in, and he is the founder, the chairperson, the CEO of the Wisconsin Black Center for Excellence in Culture. Some of you may have heard of this incredible project. Some of you have not, but you're certainly going to be more versed on the project after we talk to Reverend Dr. G. They are building, it was essentially complete, and the grand opening is on Wednesday, a structure that is going to house everything that's going to be supportive of Black arts and culture and innovation, and bringing together African-American minds from all across the region to participate in really hammering out the disparities. And this was a project that started many, many years ago. We weren't sure if such a thing could come to fruition. This is a multi-million-dollar endeavor. The money was raised. Even in the construction, they made sure to hire African-American businesses, companies, contractors, and firms. And it's essentially a 100% African-American created cultural arts and innovation center. The unique thing about this is it's in Madison. And I'm wondering why on God's green we couldn't do something like that here. But it is going to have a regional, if not national, draw. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Reverend Dr. Alex G. at 10 a.m. And then hopefully to answer any additional questions, including questions that I still have about this upcoming merger, I suppose, of 1017 The Truth and the Milwaukee Courier, and WNOV 860 being a part of this newly created Black Media Trust, in which we will have reliable, continued production of African-American centered media content here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, instead of having these different entities, a newspaper and 2 radio stations that can be bought and sold and traded like stocks on the Wall Street stock market. They will be centered here in the community and owned by the individuals that are participating in this new trust. So Craig Karmasin, who is the namesake of Good Karma Brands here, will be in studio at 11 a.m. to discuss his reasoning, his rationale, but also I'm going to go back in history with Craig. What was his consideration, or what were his considerations at the time of starting a African-American talk radio platform during the middle of a pandemic? And then what happens 5-6 years later? Did we meet or exceed expectations? And also his motivation to place this endeavor, which is a Good Karma Brands creation, in the hands of this new Black Media Trust, where I know a lot of people were nervous because we've seen the buying and the selling and ultimately the changing of direction and format of previous Black-owned media. And just nationally, this has been going on really since the 1990s, where the majority of radio were owned by individual operators and communities. There was some legislation that was created, I believe, in 1996, signed by our best friend Bill Clinton, that allowed for larger corporate radio stations, Clear Channel and the like, to come in and purchase smaller community radio stations. But it's also just been a part of this larger weathering away, this erosion of local community media, which in some places it may be less important, but I think here in Milwaukee and southeastern Wisconsin, it still has a place. So going to be talking to Craig Karmasin at 11 a.m., and he will be here in studio. Okay, so I saw the Michael Jackson biopic on Saturday, and I've heard a lot about it. You all have seen it. Just about all of my colleagues here at 101.7 The Truth has seen it. Bailey Coleman saw it, and Homer saw it, and they talked about it at length, because I think Bailey saw the Michael Jackson biopic first, and then Homer, I believe, saw it the next week or the following weekend, and they gave it glowing reviews. Don't shoot the messenger here, but it left a lot to be desired, and I say that because this movie, which essentially stops at about 1987, 1988. So the more eccentric parts of Michael Jackson's life completely omitted from the movie. It also did not describe the depth and the complications of Michael's life. Like the whole part of him being in The Wiz, the movie, which we gave away tickets to go see the off-Broadway production here in Milwaukee a couple of months ago. Like, that was all omitted. The impact and the influence of Diana Ross on Michael Jackson's life, all of that was omitted. And the problem that I had with it, if you were younger, you have no idea about the musical and cultural, the global impact of Michael Jackson. Now, all you get to see are the stories, and of course you can listen to his music. But back when he was a central figure, not just on black music charts, on R&B charts, but on pop charts, and then he comes out with the Thriller album and the Thriller video, it's really hard to compare the kind of phenomenon that he was to anything that we have right now, because music has been so incredibly decentralized in these days and times. And maybe that's probably a good thing, where you don't have all of this major monster corporate control of what artists get played on radio and what videos get shown on MTV. But back then, you only got a handful of artists, and those handful of artists exploded to superstardom and international fame. And also Michael Jackson being from where he's from, the working class roots in Gary, Indiana, and a very tragic story, quite honestly. But if you haven't grown up with his music and you see this movie, you have a totally different perception of who Michael Jackson was. Now, I know that there are many people that debate this, and we've had this conversation many times before on this show. I'm sure other shows as well. Michael was accused of doing some, let's just say, unsavory things when it comes to his very close connections and friendships with children much, much younger than himself. And of course, him having the Neverland Ranch. In the movie, they show the building blocks of the Michael that we've come to know and understand, and the very tragic story of his drug addiction and ultimately his untimely death. But the movie was really sanitized for me. Of course, there were people that showed up to the movie wearing Michael Jackson gear. Thought it was weird. It's a little unusual. First of all, where are you even going to find a red leather Michael Jackson rhinestone sequins jacket and a shiny glove? But whatever, there's people there that were in character. But I think that also shows how impactful he was on culture at that time, that 40-something years later, people were pulling out their penny loafers and their thick white socks and their red leather Michael Jackson jackets to watch a damn biopic. I haven't been to the movie theater in some time, and going on Saturday reminded me of why I really don't like going to movie theaters. I would much rather wait until a movie is available for purchase via my smart TV or Netflix or whatever mediums in which we usually watch cinema. And maybe because the pandemic required us for a period of time to watch new releases on Netflix, because there's a lot of things, a lot of movies that were produced and went boom right to Netflix. And so I think I got used to being able to pause a movie or, come back later and watch it when you're in the movie theater, which I do appreciate, a communal viewing experience, but not like I had on Saturday. If you have children that are under the age of 5, unless, I want to clarify, it is a dedicated children's movie. If it's, I don't even know what little kids watch. Teletubbies? What are these kids? I don't know what kids watch. Whatever dedicated children's movies are. Barney? No, maybe not Barney. Children under the age of 5 and toddlers should not be in a movie theater. Period. Full stop. If you can't get a babysitter, you can't bring your child to a movie. You can't do it. 99.9% of the people that were in the Michael Jackson biopic, we saw it at the Mayfair AMC IMAX, which I would highly recommend as far as the viewing experience goes. But at any one point in time, there were 3 babies crying in that theater. You can't do that. You can't bring your babies. It also was a very animated environment. This was annoying as well because I was there to watch the movie. I know all of Michael Jackson's music. It was the soundtrack to our lives growing up. If you were born anywhere between, 1945 and 1990, Michael Jackson was there. He was playing. He was performing. He was touring. He was bleaching his skin. He was doing weird stuff, dangling babies over balconies, having all of a sudden mysterious full-grown white children that nobody even knew that he had. If you were born between that era, you saw something. There was something Michael Jackson said or did that made national, if not international news. Right? So you're familiar. We all know the music. There's people, they're singing the damn song. Don't sing the songs. Am I just getting old? Maybe that's what it is. I'm glad that people that went to that movie enjoyed themselves and they were singing along. But there's also, there'd be a a section of the movie where they're singing a very popular Jackson 5 song, and then boom, it would break to Joe Jackson pulling off his belt and beating the hell out of Michael in a bathroom. So the jovial moments were quickly ended by the tragedy that was child abuse. And Mike and his brothers were absolutely abused, but of course they downplayed that in the movie significantly. So if you are unfamiliar with the cultural impact of MJ, you would think that his discipline that he received was just, it was normal. He was not acting right, and he needed to be corrected. Joe used to beat the hell out of them kids, and Catherine, too. They also, like Catherine, her role in the movie, it showed how close she was with Michael. It's almost like she didn't develop and cultivate relationships with her other 7 children. Janet made a brief appearance, or a character that played Janet, I believe, made a brief appearance. LaToya was in, like a shadow of her was in a couple of scenes. Rebe Jackson, the oldest of all of them, so the oldest girl. I think Tito's the oldest. Side note, Tito Jackson was always at least 35 years old. When Michael was 7, I swear Tito had like a full beard with gray hair in it. And there's Tito's representation in the movie. But Rebe Jackson was nowhere to be found. And maybe that's accurate because she moved out early, because they all lived in the same house, the Jacksons did. And because of the abuse and other things, Rebe Jackson, who most of you have never heard of, she attempted a solo career as well, didn't go anywhere. But she was not mentioned at all in the movie. But the worst part about it is people bringing babies. You can't... And you know who it was. Not that I want to blame any particular race or any particular culture. It's not all of us, but it's always us. And I got to say this. I love black people so very much. Some days I love black people more than others. But why are you bringing babies to the movie theater? That brings us to our YouTube poll question of the day, because I really need to get some validation or some clarity on this. I want to be specific, though. In a movie that does not appeal to children, and there were scenes in that movie that a child should not have been exposed to. They shouldn't have. Now, there's a line I'm going to draw. If it's a dedicated children's movie, a Disney movie, a cartoon, absolutely, bring all the babies. Let them cry, let them run around the movie theater, because it's a children's themed movie. But if it's not a children's themed movie, because movie tickets aren't cheap, I don't know if you guys know that. It's very expensive to go to a movie. And I don't know what I call it. Maybe they're egotistical or self-centered. People have very little respect for the fact that we all paid, within reason, the same amount for a movie ticket. But when you get in that theater, you can be on your phone. You can be talking to people. One person was even taking pictures of the movie screen. I've never seen anything so psychopathic in my entire life. The communal movie viewing experience it's been ruined. It has. We're paying a lot of money for these tickets. You can't talk. There was a people sitting right behind us where, like, they brought a child, of course, and like the child is watching like videos on YouTube. This is all in the damn movie theater. So the YouTube question of the day, because I gotta know. Should babies / toddlers be allowed in movie theaters? But here is the line I'm drawing. If it's a dedicated children's movie, that's different. We're talking about movies where the themes are adult, where it's at least PG. Should children be allowed in a movie theater? Because kids, toddlers and babies, I want to be clear, are unpredictable. And they'll cry and they'll scream and they'll ask for things, and they can interrupt people that paid good money to see a movie. Should children, toddlers / babies be allowed in movie theaters? That's the YouTube question of the day. If you go to youtube.com or open up your YouTube app from your smartphone or other mobile device, search 1017 The Truth, hit subscribe, and you'll be able to participate in our very lively chat, view the video stream of the program in real time, and answer the YouTube poll question of the day. It makes me not want to go back to a movie. And of course I went to Mayfair. Of course, that's the theater that I went to. All right, The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. Breaking down the issues that shape our city and our future.
Another function of white supremacy, don't teach black people stuff, because if you give us a little bit of knowledge, we'll invent something totally new. That's why it was illegal to teach slaves to read, because if we could read, then we could write. And if we could write, we could communicate. And if we could communicate, we could plan. And if we could plan, we could strategize. And if we can plan and write and read and communicate and strategize, we could overthrow white supremacy, because they've always known how fragile it is.
It's The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, weekdays from 9 to noon.
You're a hard worker. Provide for your family and help out in your community. You've been there for so many others. But when life challenges you, when rising costs, unexpected repairs, medical bills, or simply a rough stretch make it hard to keep up on a limited or low income, you're not alone. Your local Wisconsin energy and emergency assistance providers are here for you, working together to keep you safely in your home and your heat and power on. If you're struggling with high utility bills, facing a disconnect notice, or dealing with a furnace emergency and your limited or low income isn't enough, support is available. Visit www.heat.help or call 1-800-506-5596 to apply for a hand up.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Eight 833-212-1017. 833-212-1017 is our call-in number. If the movie is not specifically for children, should toddlers and babies be allowed in a movie theater? And I can see how this might be offensive to some people, because people that have children should be able to go out to the movies and not have to incur the extra expense of getting a babysitter or getting childcare, because that may be more expensive than the movie ticket itself. And so they bring their kids. But isn't that disrespectful to the other individuals that go see a movie? And maybe I'm different in that I want silence from the audience, because I'm not paying money to hear people talk and giggle and predict the next scene and use their cell phones. And you see these random glows in the very dark movie theater because somebody is always on their phone, somebody is texting. When you go to certain stand-up comedy shows, they make you lock your phones up. Now, part of that is so that people don't record the stand-up material that the comedian is performing, and they don't want that stuff put out on social media. Because you can go to a comedy show. Dave Chappelle has been known to do this. Dave has been doing it for like 10 plus years. I think Kevin Hart does it. There's been a few other stand-up comedians that I've seen where they make you lock your phones up. You can record, the whole thing, the whole show. The people obviously are paying tickets and paying the artist, paying the comedian. They're going to get some profit off of that. But if Dave Chappelle is touring, as an example, and he doesn't require people to lock their phones up, you can record the entire thing, upload it to YouTube, and monetize, at least temporarily, someone else's performance. And so people that will see these clips on YouTube or whatever you recorded in person and not actually buy a ticket to the show because they can just go to YouTube. Now, I'd imagine YouTube will probably do some copyright strikes, but it is possible to upload some material from a live show directly to social media, and then the person who's uploading it can make money off of those clips that were uploaded. Let's talk to Dion. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you, young man?
No, it's a lady.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm doing
Dion,
fine.
the woman.
That's okay. That's okay. But no, number one, you are not different. That is extremely irritating. But number two, why didn't you just leave and go to the front desk and request your refund of your money back and tell them you'll come another time and explain why?
So that would have been too much, because then now I am further inconveniencing myself, because now I got to figure out another time to go to the movie. And I'm already a little hot under the collar, and me walking out. I wanted to see the movie, that's the thing. And I want to see, a part of the movie. It wasn't to the point where I was completely and totally distracted, but it did take additional energy to block out all that other stuff. But here's the thing, Dion the woman. There's no guarantee that when I go back to the movie and see another showing, that the exact same thing wouldn't happen again. You just can't keep people quiet in the movie theater for some reason.
True. And then again, if that's the case, then just get your refund and don't go back, because you were kind of stressing. You cannot say, even though it calmed down, you didn't have in the back of your mind, oh, these babies are going to start crying again. When is it going to happen again?
Oh, yeah,
it was on your mind. See there? So from now on, just wait till it comes on some type of TV, whatever TV that is, and just watch it at home. Don't pay the theaters for the stress on you.
Thank you, Dion the lady, for that sound advice that I should have followed from the beginning.
All right. Have a good day.
Okay. You too, Dion the lady. Yeah, it was annoying, to say the least. And typically, because I've done this before, this is always a problem. It doesn't really matter when the era is, because I can remember going back many, many years. And there's somebody behind me. You guys know about this trick you do. If somebody in the row behind you or somebody in your proximity is talking, or if they kick your seat, you turn around, you give them that look. You guys know that look? You don't got to say nothing. The look usually speaks for itself, because I've been that person too. Full disclosure, I'm sure I probably was in a movie at some point in time in my very long and storied life where I was making some noise or talking to the person next to me. And even if you're whispering, people can still hear it. And if the person in the row in front of me turns around and looks at me and they give you that glare, out of respect, I shut up. Because then I'm brought back down to reality. That person paid good money for their ticket just like I did. Who am I to add my own dialogue to a movie that people all paid good money to see? But bringing children is just a no-go. It also reminds me of people that believe they're entitled to bring their pets everywhere because those are service animals or rescue dogs, and most of them are not. You can pay a small nominal fee and get fake credentials for really any kind of pet. I think that state governments and state legislators have put some kind of guardrails or some kind of regulation on what can and cannot be a service animal, but people are just literally insane with this stuff. Now, because the person that I was with was also annoyed, them probably less so than I. And then they were inquiring if they should say something to the people in the row behind us. And it was like a whole family. It was like the grandmother, the mother, several random 30-something-year-old guys, and then two children absolutely under the age of 7. And one of those children was watching a video. I'm like, why would you even think? Now, the volume was turned down, but keep in mind, they're right behind me. But here's the difference about today versus years ago. If I was to say something, I got to be ready to argue with that person in a movie theater, because we don't have the kind of generally respectful society where if someone is doing something that is out of order and if they are disturbing the peace, especially in a movie theater, we don't have the kind of society where I can turn around and exchange a glance or a glare with that person and have them get the message. I would physically have to say something and damn near intimidate them to get them to tell their kid to turn off this video that they're watching in the movie. And then I have to be prepared for that person to get loud with me. How do I know? Because I've seen it before. And yet another reason why, and I wish that we could participate in our communal experiences without having to be on the defensive. But then I told the individual that I was with, they really wanted to say something. And I told them not to, because if they did and it went left, we'd all have to be prepared to get kicked out of the movie. And now, because we'd all get kicked out. right? I would, the person I was with get kicked out. That whole damn family would probably get kicked out as well because I can't see them leaving some people and then the other members of the family are getting kicked out of the movie theater. Now I'm in the lobby with them. Now I want to fight. And I try so hard to not fight people in public. But there's just so much damn tension to where you can't even tell somebody like, hey, can you be quiet or can you keep the music down or turn off the YouTube video without somebody wanting to fight. And nowadays, people will shoot you in the movie theater. People shoot each other for less. All right, I think I'm done ranting, even though I could go on forever. But our YouTube poll, just want to get a baseline and see how you all feel about this. Should babies/toddlers, and I want to make a distinction, be allowed in movie theaters when it's an adult-themed movie? If it's not a kid's movie, if it's a Disney movie, oh my God, bring all the babies. But I'm not going to see a Disney movie, so I don't care what goes on in the Disney movie. But in the Michael Jackson biopic, that is all the rage, should children that have nothing to do, don't know anything about, can't understand nor comprehend who Michael Jackson is, should those babies and toddlers be allowed in the movie theater? Because they only serve as a distraction. But also, I want to be mindful of the fact that, you know what, everybody should be able to get out of the house every now and again. And maybe some of those parents haven't been to the movie in 5, 7, 12 years. And they couldn't find a sitter or they didn't want to find a sitter. Because that's the only excuse to bring a child that young to a movie theater. You don't have anybody to watch them. And my opinion on that is, well, you just can't go to the movies. But if you go to youtube.com, open up your YouTube app, search 1017 The Truth, hit subscribe, you'll be able to vote on our YouTube poll. Should babies/toddlers be allowed in movie theaters? I'm going to take a break, come back. I want to give a different, maybe hidden perspective on the recent Supreme Court ruling that has everybody thinking that the sky is falling, that we can no longer use race to draw legislative districts, create congressional maps, state congressional maps, state assembly maps is what they'd be called here in Wisconsin, and state Senate maps, because for so long, African Americans in particular, really all minorities and people of color, were excluded from the political process, therefore went many years, many decades, many generations, quite honestly, many centuries, without accurate nor adequate political representation when it comes to state government representation and congressional representation. If I'm not mistaken, we have more African-American members of Congress and members of state legislatures than probably any other time in American history. And so what the Supreme Court ruled on last week is that you can no longer use race as a sole, single, solitary factor, even though race was a reason why black representation in particular was almost non-existent. The courts did allow through the Voting Rights Act, hey, look, there's a lot of African Americans that live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, yet they don't have a majority African American district. For a long period of time, for 60 plus years in this country, that was okay. To see who was racially underrepresented in a state in which minority, particularly black populations, warranted more congressional or state legislative representation. The Supreme Court has said you can't use race. You can use politics. If the people surrounding Baton Rouge are 90+% Democratic voters, well, then absolutely and by all means can you create a majority Democratic district for those Democratic voters, but you cannot use race. It's a little more complicated, a little bit more nuanced than that, but I don't think that it's the sky is falling scenario that a lot of people are making it out to be, but I also want to give you an alternative opinion that many people are not discussing. We'll talk about that on the other side. We're also going to talk to Marlon as well, who I'm fairly certain is a man. The Dion name can go either way. You know what I mean? You see Dion on the screen, and it can be a man Dion, because we know many man Dions. And I guess we know some woman Dions too. But Marlon, I'm pretty sure, is a fella. And I think his pronouns are he, him. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Our children deserve a real chance to make it in life, and a good education is a passport to opportunity. At City Ford Collective, we're working to make sure there's a great Milwaukee school for every Milwaukee family, because more good options lead to better outcomes. And who doesn't want that? Together, we can give every child the foundation they need to thrive, and a stronger future for kids means a stronger future for Milwaukee. To learn more about our mission, visit us at cityfordcollective.org. That's cityfordcollective.org.
Tap into the best power hour in radio in Milwaukee.
So altogether, you're looking at $1,780 for your mortgage and for your property taxes in a year. And that's before you have to deal with, obviously, your water bill and electric bill. That's a steep price that people have to pay. And based off those numbers I just ran, to afford a home like that, you got to make $65,000 a year. But the problem is, here in Milwaukee, the median household income is only $54,234. That's out of whack. So again, I am all about affordability. I'm all about people getting homes. But what we have to understand is that until homes are more affordable, you can have a supply and demand problem. But the problem that we have here in the city of Milwaukee is that these prices, when people are listing these houses, they're listing them for prices that people really can't afford. And even if you do get the house and you're paying that, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Home ownership is not about living paycheck to paycheck. Home ownership is about finding something that fits within your budget and building equity for the future.
Catch Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace every weekday from noon to 1 p.m. on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
I could be alone in this thought, or at least I haven't heard it discussed thoroughly enough. I'm also realizing that everything that happens politically, particularly during the Trump administration, you've got to find a racial overtone to it. You have to. In fact, that is the lens in which we are receiving our news. We're waiting to see who's going to be offended. And rightfully so, I suppose, because a lot of the policies have very much been anti-person of color or minority. And so any decision, whether it be the courts, whether it be a bill, whether it be an appointee rather, in the Trump administration, we always want to see what the racial angle is so we can find our collective outrage, which does not necessarily move the needle politically. So if there's an egregious decision that was made that impacts immigrants of any kind, and it's really horrible, it's a terrible, terrible decision, it's mean-spirited and it's targeted, that does not mean that people are going to vote for the opposition party. And I think deep in our psyche, we still believe that we as African Americans, as an example, if we yell and scream from the mountaintops how we have been harmed by this proposal, this idea, this bill, or Donald Trump appoints somebody to be the Secretary of War that has Iron Cross tattoos, we believe that somebody somewhere is going to find deep sympathy for African Americans and then vote for our preferred candidate. Not the case. Let's talk to Marlon. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you, sir?
Good, and yourself?
Doing all right. What's on your mind?
Good. So you were talking about the movie theater and people in the movie theaters. Yeah, when I went to go see the Michael last weekend, It was kind of interesting because the CEO from Marcus Corporation comes up and says, hey, will you please not use your phone because the brightness will distract. As soon as he said that, at least 3 people's cell phones lit up, and they're starting to look. You can tell they're looking at text messages or looking at Facebook. It's like, what the heck is going on? Playing music, like you said. And then I had a group of white women behind me. It's probably 5 or 6 of them now. When I say women, like 18 years old, talking, to the point where I was about to get up and say something, but then they quiet down. But yeah, it's horrible going to the movies nowadays. It's like people don't have etiquette because they're so used to doing whatever the hell they want, or they go other places and don't consider others. And the whole baby thing, it depends on, how well behaved the child is. You know what I mean? There are some children that are well behaved that can sit there and watch. There's others that's baby kids, and dang well they can't do nothing. So yeah, they shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? But yeah. So yeah, that's just my thought process about that.
All right, Marlon. Thank you for your call. Appreciate your sentiments.
All right, thank you. Yeah, thank you, sir.
All right. Now, if it was a group of white girls, I would have said something to them because I could have intimidated them. And chances are they're probably not armed. But the likelihood that I would be distracted by a group of young-ish white women in a movie theater at Mayfair is very, very unlikely. The only kind of baby that should be in a movie theater, the only kind of toddler, is a sleeping one. If your baby is going to sleep through the whole movie, by all means, absolutely. I also think it's hard to say, well, if the child is well behaved and they're 3 years old or 2 years old or 18 months, then you can bring them to the movie. You don't always know when that child is going to act up. For those of you that don't know, I've got a much, 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 much younger brother. 14 years younger than me, in fact. When parents told me that my mother was pregnant when I was in 8th grade, I simply didn't believe them. But for the most part, my brother was a really, really good baby. Like, his personality is almost exactly the same. He's always been calm. He slept through the night really, really early. Even to this day, my brother, if you let him sleep forever, he'll never wake up. He's a 14-hour sleeper pretty much every single night. But he was a very good baby. He didn't cry very much. He was just good. I remember my mother and I wanted to go to Chi-Chi's many, many years ago. My brother was probably 6 months old, if that. From the moment we walked in the restaurant, he did not stop crying. And we were blown away because this was so unlike him. You could have taken my little brother anywhere, and believe me, I had to. I was the only kid in my high school parking lot that had a Camaro with a car seat in it. Oh, I could go to the mall with my friends. Absolutely, I could. But I bet I was taking my brother with me. Imagine 16-year-old Sherwin with a red Camaro and a car seat in the back, and I got a diaper bag slung over my shoulder, pushing my little baby brother in a stroller. But I will tell you this, chick magnet. Oh, yeah, that part I didn't quite realize. So I'd have my brother with me, and I got the diaper bag. I'm not kidding. I'm a 16, 17-year-old kid. Sophomore, junior, senior in high school, bringing my brother with me to the mall because, I didn't have a choice. If I wanted to go, had to bring him with me because my parents they had a built-in babysitter, which was me. And we're walking around the mall just killing time, and these girls would come, oh, my God, your son is so cute. And I'm like, wait a minute, light bulb goes off above my head, bing. And that's when I say, you just don't know how rough it is being a single father out here. I just wish I had some help, and I pretend to tear up a little bit. You don't know how hard it is. Oh, my God. Well, tell you what, maybe we can all hang out sometime. Here's my phone number. You want to just come over to my house if you ever get a babysitter? Because I just want to make it okay for you, lowly single father. Oh, my God, your son is so cute. I'm like, yeah, it's been a real struggle getting this government cheese and these food stamps, and I would just play it for what it was worth. So, Tyler, if you're listening, sorry I used you, but also at the same time, thank you. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Truth Nation is the best fan base in the country.
I won tickets last week on your show to see The Wiz. I just wanted to call and say thank you and say I appreciate you. I appreciate the show. I appreciate the station. That was a core memory that was made last night. The Wiz was an amazing performance.
We want you to tap into the talk and text line every show, every day at 833-212-1017. Milwaukee Black Talk, 1017 The Truth.
You're a hard worker. Provide for your family and help out in your community. You've been there for so many others. But when life challenges you, when rising costs, unexpected repairs, medical bills, or simply a rough stretch make it hard to keep up on a limited or low income, you're not alone. Your local Wisconsin energy and emergency assistance providers are here for you, working together to keep you safely in your home and your heat and power on. If you're struggling with high utility bills, facing a disconnect notice, or dealing with a furnace emergency and your limited or low income isn't enough, support is available. Visit www.heat.help or call 1-800-506-5596 to apply for a hand up.
Hi, I'm attorney David Gruber. After an accident, you need a trusted winning team on your side. For more than 30 years, Gruber Law Offices has helped Wisconsin families get the results they deserve. If you've been injured, call our firm today for a free consultation. We're available 24/7. Wisconsin's own Gruber Law Offices, proud partner of your Milwaukee Brewers. One call, that's all.
I'm Sherwin Hughes, and I know the power of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight firsthand. As someone who's been on an honor flight, I can tell you it's a day you'll never forget. Stars and Stripes Honor Flight gives our oldest veterans who served in any location in June of 1975 or earlier a free one-day trip to Washington, D.C. for veterans. Airfare, meals, a coach bus tour, and special flight apparel are all included. It's a day of honor, gratitude, and camaraderie. Veterans who served in the Vietnam or Korean War go to flysshf.org and ask for an application.
Ready to strengthen your organization for what's next? Join the Milwaukee County Sustainability Summit Tuesday, May 5th at the Marcia P. Cog Center. This hands-on experience gives you practical tools, sharper messaging, and real strategies to build long-term resilience.
No one-size-fits-all playbook.
Learn from local leaders, connect with peers, and walk away with ideas you can use right away. And it's completely free to attend. Visit the Milwaukee County Sustainability Summit online to learn more.
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes returns after this on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Going to be speaking with Reverend Dr. Alex G at 10 a.m. A 37,000 square foot state-of-the-art African-American arts, cultural, technology, and innovation center has been constructed, and they're having their big old grand opening on Wednesday, where leaders from all over the state will converge to behold something that, quite honestly, because I remember seeing the renderings of it, and I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Where are they going to find the millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to build something dedicated to the African-American culture and reducing disparities and furthering our innovation? And they built it. And I'm looking forward to going and checking it out and getting the full tour, but then also networking with other leaders from around the state to figure out how we can best utilize such a very important and one-of-a-kind arts, cultural, and innovative space, and at the same time figuring out what we can create here in the city of Milwaukee. Now, we have neighborhoods and communities and districts that are dedicated to the African American impact, not just here in Milwaukee or in Wisconsin regionally, but nationwide. We have Bronzeville, we have the America's Black Holocaust Museum, and I believe there's another development or two that is underway to feature and showcase Black progress and art. But how do we get more of it, and how do we utilize the things that we already have, our cultural amenities? I really would like for us to have, and I know that I'm chasing a dream here, to have an African World Festival, because if you're old enough, you can remember when we had our own ethnic festival at the Summerfest grounds. Now, we do have events. You know, you have Juneteenth, and I know that there's another African-centered festival that I think they have at Brown Deer Park or one of the other parks somewhere on the northwest side of the county, but it's not the same as your German Fest, Irish Fest, Polish Fest, Asian Moon Fest, Festa Italiana, etc. I believe that we should hold space where we can showcase our culture like the other cultures do at the Summerfest grounds. Now, maybe this is good news or maybe it's bad news, but I know that there is a collaboration with Summerfest so that Juneteenth, partially, our events in the evening time celebrating Juneteenth will be at the Summerfest grounds. I think last year was the first year of that, but that's not the same. And I don't want a consolation prize. Like we can't have or do not, I shouldn't say can't have. Our community has not prioritized showcasing our culture in an ethnic festival like the other folks do. We haven't prioritized that. And I think if we did prioritize it, if more people found it necessary and important, we would have it, but it just looks like our priorities are other places. What I don't want is this. For the brain trust of the African American community that still wants to stay in Milwaukee, because a lot of people want to leave. And I can't tell you not to. Because depending upon where your experience and expertise is, what your resume says, what your education is, you very well may do better somewhere else in the United States. Any other city is going to have disparities, of course. There's going to be racism, the institutional and structural variety. But you very well may do better. Your children may have a better shot at getting a higher education or better quality education. So it's hard for me to tell people, no, stay in Milwaukee and stick it out and suffer. But what I don't want is for the brain trust that is here is just to be focused on, we got to stop all of the crime. Because you can't stop all of the crime. Some of it is out of our control. Just like if I'm at a movie, I can't negotiate with the person behind me that's being a distraction unless I'm ready to fight them. And maybe it won't get that extreme, but I got to be prepared for the offending person to be even more offended than me, even though they're the ones causing the disturbance. And if that gives me some pause, and rightfully so, because people don't know how to behave in certain social situations. If we can't tell somebody to shut up in a movie theater without them getting offended, you are not going to be able to tell somebody not to shoot their enemy. These are individual kinds of occurrences. Yes, there's trends. Things trend in the summer. Yes, there's a particular demographic. It is Black. It is particularly teenage. There's even certain times of the day. We have all of the data and all of the metrics of when some of these violent crimes are most likely to occur, but that doesn't mean that we can stop them. It could be an economic issue. It could be a family issue. It could be a housing insecurity issue. It could be a food insecurity issue. There are these Instagram clips, and they're also on TikTok, where a high school senior has a one-sentence passage where some high school senior type vocabulary is used, and they're recording this and they're uploading it to social media. And I think it's a sad reflection of where we are, where they're asking their fellow classmates to read the sentence and then interpret it. One of the words is extraordinary. I think the word silhouette is used. In one of the little written passages, the word colonel colonel, like a military rank colonel, which is not spelled with the K. And the number of high school seniors that cannot read the one-sentence passage, and even the ones that can read it, if you ask them to interpret what it means in their own words, none of them could do it. Now, I'd imagine this is not representative of all of the seniors at this school, but it's very embarrassing because there's no way we have readied young people, or at least we think we've readied them with 13 years of compulsory education, and they can't read a sentence that is on grade level, and even worse, because this is illiteracy too. If you read something and you can't interpret it, that's functional illiteracy. It's not just, oh, I don't know these words, I don't know this vocabulary, I don't know these definitions. Oh, no. You have to be able to read, interpret, understand, and then convert something that you read into your own words. And if you are unable to do that, you have some level of functional or maybe dysfunctional illiteracy. So the senior that was recording his or her classmates, they're trying to expel them. They can't go to prom. And they're not allowing them to walk across the stage to graduate because they recorded their classmates not being able to read a one-sentence passage and interpret that passage in their own words. And they are disciplining that high school senior that is exposing, which I'm glad that they expose it, because I think the problem that we have is much bigger than people want to admit. And it's something we absolutely have to focus on, but I don't want all of the power and the brain trust that we have to be so focused on these really, really low-level inconveniences that are having a lot of impact in our society. I'm going to take a break, come back, and I'll be speaking with Reverend Dr. Alex G. on the other side, and he is from the Center of African American Arts and Culture. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Come in with straight truth.
If you acted up, if you were out here doing any kind of foolishness or just something that people know would make your family's name look bad, your neighbor from down the street, if they see the son or daughter, be like, what are you doing? They gonna call you out. They gonna let you know that they saw you, and then they gonna tell you, come here. Now you know I'm gonna tell your daddy.
That part.
There are a lot of times when people are new to an area, they don't know where to plug in. And anybody who plugs in the 101.7 The Truth and listen to you and Dame and Truth Nation would know that there is a significant public outcry when violence happens in our community. Don't worry about the outcry if you're not listening to the right people. So I would encourage her to tune in to 101.7 The Truth and listen to you guys, Denise Thomas, Dr. Ken Harris, Tori Lowe, and definitely Sherwin Hughes every day.
Watch all your favorite 1017 The Truth shows by subscribing to 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
People don't realize that glaucoma is one of the leading causes of blindness.
Because there are often no early symptoms, nearly half of those with glaucoma may not even know they have it until vision loss has occurred.
I was diagnosed with normal tension glaucoma in July of 2020. And what we found out at that point was I had already lost 40% of my sight. And you think it only affects people that are, 75 or older, retired, grandparents, and that's not the reality of it.
I didn't think at all glaucoma was going to affect me because I didn't know of anyone that had glaucoma, no one in my family. When you have glaucoma, you can't get back that sight that you lost. And so early detection and treatment is vitally, vitally important.
Don't miss life's most beautiful moments. Schedule an eye exam today.
National Glaucoma Research, a Bright Focus Foundation program, offers free resources and tips for healthy vision.
Learn how to protect your sight at stopglaucoma.org.
When I was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma, I had so many questions. I didn't even know that it was cancer. Now I do. It is cancer. Blood cancer. It's actually one of more than 100 different types, and they're all treated differently. Now, unlike some other forms of cancer, usually there's no tumor. You can't screen for it to prevent it, and the symptoms can look like other things, so it could be hard to diagnose. I had a fever for weeks. I was so tired all the time. I didn't feel like eating or doing anything else for that matter. And I know that this can feel scary. But if you know what to look out for, you'll know what to tell your doctor, and you'll feel more empowered to take the next steps. Like getting in touch with the people who know the ins and outs and can help with everything blood cancer related. Blood Cancer United. They work one-on-one with each person who reaches out to answer questions and offer resources. Blood Cancer United was there for me, and they can be there for you.
Go to bloodcancerunited.org to learn more.
You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee. A locally owned Good Karma brand station. This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome back to the program, and welcome to Hour 2 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. And on the line, we have the Reverend Dr. Alex G. Dr. G, how are you this morning?
You know what, Mr. Hughes, I am doing really well. Thank you for letting me come on and talk with you today. It's good to be here.
My pleasure to have you. I know we met some years ago when this was an idea to yet come to fruition. And I'm going to be honest with you, Reverend. I was like, boy, oh boy, this is ambitious. And here we are, 2 days away from the grand opening of the Center for Black Excellence in Culture. So first and foremost, what was the motivation to create a 37,000+ square foot facility that would be a draw for African American excellence and culture and innovation from all over the region? What was your motivation?
The motivation, man, was I kept noticing that sharp Black people were leaving Madison because they said there was no place to be themselves. And so they were tired of working here, being the first and only in the departments, divisions, offices, companies. So, man, they would drive to Chicago, Milwaukee, Twin Cities, or fly to New York or Atlanta for a social life, to hang out for the weekend. I had colleagues who lived in Madison, and I'm not exaggerating, lived in Madison for 9 years and never spent one weekend here. Black people flew to the East Coast every weekend, and their job paid them in a way that they could afford to do that. So seeing so many people leave because they didn't see themselves represented here. And I wanted to give back to a community that had given so much to my mother, who came here as a woman going through a divorce from a very abusive marriage. And this community rolled out the red carpet. She enrolled at the university, got 2 degrees, sent both of her kids to Wisconsin for college. So I want to give back to a place that offered me so much, but it's a good place for Black people to thrive if we have access, and I want to give us access.
The center serves as a home where we create opportunities and solutions. Here, our art fills the walls, our brilliance is shared, and we reconnect with the roots that unite us. I know one of the things that is central to the mission is looking at and examining the many different disparities that exist between Black and white in the state of Wisconsin. How is the center going to essentially reframe these issues and focus on them in a way in which we can start to mitigate some of these terrible disparities?
Sure. Well, one of the things I do, Mr. Hughes, is I don't let the community, Black, white, or otherwise, lay the burden at the door of my doorstep or the doorstep of the new center to fix all things racially that has racial disparities. But what we do is create a space that makes people feel that Madison can be home. You know, the analogy I use is that if you always go to your grandmother's house, Big Mama's house, and every other grandchild's picture or artwork is up but yours, after a couple of years, you're going to ask your parents, do y'all want to tell me something? Is there a reason why I'm not up here? You know, am I not in this family? And because people don't see themselves, it's like living in that kind of reality at your grandmama's house where people are saying, this is for your family, but nothing represents you. We want to create a space that we can come in, like we use a General Mitchell Airport in Milwaukee, where we can recombobulate. I love that sign because we all know what it means to discombobulate, but it's where you get yourself back together. This will be a recombobulation center, not where we gripe and groan and complain, but we hang with people who understand our strengths and our struggles, and then our strengths in spite of the struggles. And when we have space like the center to be our best, then we can give more to the community. But what we can do is give Black people another reason to stay in Madison or see Wisconsin as home, because although we have site control, therefore, we built this space in Madison. This is really paying homage to Black excellence around the state of Wisconsin, and our touchscreens and our art and our films will reflect the beauty of Black excellence for the entire state of Wisconsin. We just happen to be bold enough to lay claim of the space where this exists here in Madison.
The website is theblackcenter.org, theblackcenter.org, and we are just over 2 days away from the grand opening. Reverend G, what about intergenerational connections? There's so much that is lost because there doesn't seem to be a place or a space or a comfortable environment for older generations to work with, talk to, and help foster our younger generations. Will the center be a place where we can bring our generations together?
Certainly will. Certainly will. You know, Boys and Girls Clubs are just that, Boys and Girls Clubs. And then you have senior centers, and they're just that. But when I was growing up here in Madison, I've been here for 55, 56 years. We had a place called the South Madison Neighborhood Center. It has since become a Boys and Girls Club because of funding, which was a good move. But it was intergenerational. Grandmothers were there cooking. There were preschool classes there. You go there after school. My cousins had jobs where you could go there and they would place you in teen jobs. But it was intergenerational. And I took ideas and pages out of that playbook. So our senior center, which is named after my mom, who died from the complication of dementia 2 years ago, is right next door to the children's library. So we want the children to read to the seniors. We want the seniors to read to the children. We want young adults who are in our programs to listen to the recorded stories that we are going to capture of the elders who come to our senior space. We have a professional recording studio. We're going to record their story and their insight and their experiences and their triumphs. But young adults and youth who are participating in our programs need to listen to those so they can process what they heard and what they learned and what they can take from it. I think that there's not enough space to bring the seniors and the children together, and intergenerational programming is going to be one of our hallmarks, as well as a strong Pan-African focus.
The Center for Black Excellence and Culture, located at 671 West Badger Road in Madison. The grand opening is going to be on Wednesday from 2 until 6 p.m., and you can RSVP via the website, which is theblackcenter.org. Reverend G, I know you put your money where your mouth is, and one of the many places in which we have disparities is construction. Were you intentional in making sure that African-American owned construction firms and IT firms were used to build the center?
I insisted that we reach out to them. You know, Mr. Hughes, it's sad that when we started looking not only for construction, but subcontractors like windows, flooring, painting, I'm going to sound like my grandmother, could nary find Black-owned businesses. We found white businesses that said that they were a minority business because they were women-owned. And we did use some. I mean, I got to tell you, our architect is Black, although there's no Black architectural firms here in Madison. We pushed the construction company. We built with Findorf. They made sure that the project manager that was over the whole operation, construction crew, day-to-day, was an African-American young man. Our design groups were, we hired a group out of Atlanta that's run by two sisters. My sister was point on finalizing color and color throughout the building and furniture selection. So we blackened it up as much as we could. But what we realize is there are way too few black-owned businesses, or if we found them, it was cost prohibitive for them to bring a crew in from Milwaukee every day. Like we actually were in negotiations with a Black-owned construction company, but their business is booming in Milwaukee, and it was tough to picture being able to come to Madison back and forth day after day in order to have a crew here. But we tried to do that. I involved over 800 black residents in the greater Madison area to speak into the program, the design, its structure, its outreach. And so this was not shaped by a multi-ethnic, a people of color group. This was shaped ideologically by members of our black community. Over 800 folks. It was one of the greatest snapshots of the black community by the black community in Wisconsin history. So we got black voices in it when we couldn't get black vendors in it.
The website is theblackcenter.org, and I'll tell you, Reverend G, this is a beautiful piece of architecture, and I'm so glad that it is going to showcase and feature our culture and be a space where we all can come together, not just Milwaukee or Madison, not just in Wisconsin, but regionally and also nationwide. What do you want people to be thinking and feeling when they come to the grand opening and they are in awe of this space? When they're driving back home, what do you want them to be left with after their first visit to the center during the grand opening?
I want them to leave saying, oh, that's what black excellence looks like. For non-black folks, we want them to understand that everything that we build is not a community center. Nothing's against that. I'm a pastor, so I understand grassroots programs, and I started a black-focused social service agency called Nehemiah 35 years ago. I get it. But the thought is that whatever we do is hand-me-down, it's backwards, and it's sort of a that'll-do kind of thing. I want people to shake their heads. I want them to walk in here and think that they are in Chicago or D.C. or Atlanta. For the black folks, I want them to understand that there's no homage being paid to slave ships or chains. There's no pictures or things of that. But the homage is being paid to the strength of our ancestors who, against all odds, endured such cruel hardships, but still, out of just few years out of change, we're building HBCUs and hospitals and creating schools like Meharry and Xavier because we built America. And so, of course, we know how to build colleges and hospitals, and that's the energy that we're building on. We want people to be floored by the art. The building itself is art. The landscaping is art. The furniture is art. My staff is sharp. They are art. So I want people's senses to be overwhelmed. And what I think the last thing I want to say that I want black people to experience is a sense of otherworldliness, that when you come into a space that was purchased by black people, the first 300 donors were black people. The architect was black. The interior designers were black. The ethos is black-led. The board members are black, all black. I believe that there is sort of a black feng shui that you feel when you walk in with the black aesthetic and the angles and the colors and the shapes and materials. I want people to feel transported, not to Africa, but I want them transported to their future. I want them transported to where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to do. And when they come in, for my black people that come in, I want them to feel, not just that they can see themselves on the wall, but I want them to look at the walls and see themselves as doctors and lawyers and entrepreneurs and people that have the resources to create their businesses and to raise their children with wealth-building senses in mind. And I want them to also know that when we have this, we are physically and physiologically healthier. So I want people to also know that this is how we're going to mitigate the stress that cuts our lives short. So I want people to feel hope in their lives and their future and their art when they come into this place.
Reverend Dr. Alex G., the founder, the visionary, the curator of the Center for Black Excellence and Culture. The grand opening is on Wednesday. Reverend, I'm looking forward to seeing you and also seeing the facility that has gone from renderings to reality. And I hope you don't mind. I'm bringing a whole bunch of Milwaukee black elected officials with me if you don't mind.
No, I don't. But please please be sure to introduce me to them.
Indeed, I will. Thank you so much.
Because I would love to meet them.
Absolutely.
Man, thank you so much for yours. And thanks for giving me this space. I'm looking forward to seeing you and your colleagues.
Thank you so much. We'll see you on Wednesday. That is Reverend Dr. Alex G. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm trying to not... It may sound like we're overestimating this thing. Like, there's nothing, in my opinion, like this, save for the African American History Museum that's in Washington, D.C. And I was always curious as to why are they building this damn thing in Madison? I think that Madison, the African American community in Madison, which is 10 times smaller than the black community in Milwaukee, feels the sting and feels the pinch of the racial disparities in a much, much different way than we feel them here. Now, they exist everywhere, these disparities, and we can give you the details and the numbers, and we can show you incarceration rates and low levels of educational attainment. But in a place like Madison, where you are surrounded by the whole of state government, when you are surrounded by the flagship university of the UW system, and quite honestly, a premier law school and undergrad institution that is nationally ranked in several different categories, you really see the disproportionate impact on African Americans. But also, I want this place to serve as motivation for what we can do when we put our focus in other areas instead of always being so concerned about crime. Not saying that crime shouldn't be our focus, but we also have to innovate and draw in minds and draw in brain trust from all over the country, because I think this region, if diversity is allowed to flourish, can be much better, not just for Black people, but for everyone. I'm going to take a break, come back. I want to jump back into that conversation with a recent U.S. Supreme Court decision that says you can no longer use race in constructing legislative districts per the Voting Rights Act. Let's unpack that on the other side. You're listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. I'll be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
This is 101.7 The Truth, Kyle Wallace, and the time is now, Milwaukee. Truth to Power is your platform, and on my show, our community always has a voice. There is no topic that is off limits, and I always give you my authentic opinions on how I feel, because keeping it real is the only way I know how to get down. Listen to Truth to Power with me, Kyle Wallace, every day from noon to 1 p.m. on the award-winning 101.7 The Truth app, and streaming live on YouTube at 101.7 The Truth. Milwaukee Black Talk.
You're a hard worker. Provide for your family and help out in your community. You've been there for so many others. But when life challenges you, when rising costs, unexpected repairs, medical bills, or simply a rough stretch make it hard to keep up on a limited or low income, you're not alone. Your local Wisconsin energy and emergency assistance providers are here for you, working together to keep you safely in your home and your heat and power on. If you're struggling with high utility bills, facing a disconnect notice, or dealing with a furnace emergency and your limited or low income isn't enough, support is available. Visit www.heat.help or call 1-800-506-5596 to apply for a hand up.
Bikers need protection, not just from other drivers, but unfortunately from insurance companies too. If you've been injured in a motorcycle crash, call Gruber Law Offices today. Bikers are often blamed for causing the accident because the insurance companies simply don't want to pay. At Gruber Law Offices, we've been fighting for injured bikers and their families for more than 30 years. Trust us to fight for what you deserve. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Our children deserve a real chance to make it in life, and a good education is a passport to opportunity. At City Ford Collective, we're working to make sure there's a great Milwaukee school for every Milwaukee family, because more good options lead to better outcomes. And who doesn't want that? Together, we can give every child the foundation they need to thrive, and a stronger future for kids means a stronger future for Milwaukee. To learn more about our mission, visit us at cityfordcollective.org. That's cityfordcollective.org.
Join me every Friday at 11 a.m. for the Milwaukee Experience with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee. We're a city that knows how to celebrate, where the calendar is packed with festivals, the plates are piled high with flavor, and a lakefront sunrise sets the stage. Here in Milwaukee, every street leads to something worth savoring, a place that welcomes you with open arms and where joy is shared in bites, beats, and cheers. The Milwaukee Experience every Friday at 11 a.m. exclusively on The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
A lot of times when we tell people about the importance of participating in the political process, it's boring. It usually is. And I say it's boring because it's not an immediate change you're going to notice. And we live in a world where right when people make a decision that they want something, they can get it. Convenience is everywhere. You can make a decision on something you want to buy, and you can go to Amazon, and in some cases, it might get delivered to your house that same day. If you're hungry, you can go to a restaurant of your choosing, hop in an Uber. You can literally call a vehicle when you want one. It'll come and pick you up and take you to essentially wherever you want to go. Policy doesn't work that way, and it's very difficult to tell someone who needs change now. They want to see things going in a different direction now. They want gas prices to go down now. They want healthcare to be more affordable now. They want wages to go up now. They want unemployment to go down now. That is not how it works. In fact, and this is probably the most difficult part, especially when you deal with a large number of people who unfortunately are in survival mode. They're trying to figure out what the hell they're going to have for dinner or if they're going to be able to afford to eat. To vote for candidates that will shape policies that those of us who are around right now may never feel the impact of. It's very difficult to do that. I could say that the large snapshot of where we are right now, it depends on who you are, where you're at, what your level of education is, depends on a lot of factors. Your family, of course, your neighborhood. Zip codes shouldn't be damning, but a lot of times they are. The zip code that you are in and the disparities that exist there, you very well may be a reflection of that. But I think that our political participation, it drifted and it waned and it changed course after some of the monumental civil rights victories were attained. Like, yay, we can rent wherever we want now. Yay, we can get mortgages and buy houses wherever we want now, within reason, of course. Yay, they can't discriminate when it comes to employment now. And I think the very dedicated, multi-generational focus on obtaining those things. Oh, we integrated the schools now, which we come to find out might not have been the best idea. We messed that up. But the reduced urgency of political activism after the civil rights legislation was signed in the late 60s, and we started to see some of the benefits and the gains in the 1970s, especially when it came to government employment. Remember, John F. Kennedy signed the executive order to create affirmative action in 1961. It was one of his first acts as president to make sure, at the very least, that African Americans could be hired by the federal government because we pay federal income taxes and the federal government needs to hire us. That is why you, even to this day, up until recently, you had a disproportionate number of African Americans, particularly black women, that were overrepresented in the federal government because they integrated the workforce first. Also keeping in mind that Joe Biden and Barack Obama used the power of the presidency in their executive order pen in similar ways like John F. Kennedy. While Barack Obama could not unilaterally raise the minimum wage nationwide, he said, if you're going to be a federal employee or a federal contractor, we are going to raise your minimum wage to at least $10.10 an hour. And what happened after that? Individual states and individual cities decided to go on ahead and even further raise their minimum wages. Joe Biden did similar things. Now, he couldn't get the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act passed, but he said, well, for federal law enforcement, you're not going to be able to use chokeholds, and we're going to do some curtailing and some restructuring of how federal law enforcement interacts with the public. Joe Biden had the executive order power to do that because we couldn't get the legislation. And to the best of my knowledge, we still ain't got a George Floyd Justice in Policing bill passed. It's almost like we stopped trying, didn't we? You know what else we stopped doing? Looking for Nancy Guthrie. You guys don't find that a little bit odd? This Savannah Guthrie, the lady from the Today Show, the anchor, her mama went missing, and now we don't care that her mama went missing anymore? Something odd is going on with that, but again, not my monkey, not my circus. I could argue that where we are now and there's also a lot of variation in quote unquote where we are now, is a reflection of people a generation ago slowing the pace of the march toward justice. And because we got, I'd say, some pretty significant progress, but we only had up to go. Imagine a world where all of our facilities were separate, businesses could openly discriminate, lenders would simply not write your loan for you if you wanted to buy a house. Someone that owned property in certain neighborhoods could literally say no blacks allowed, including Donald Trump's father. I don't know if you guys know that, but shortly after the creation of HUD in 1968, Donald Trump's father, I think Donald Trump's first apartment building in Manhattan, when African Americans would apply to live in a Donald Trump-owned apartment building, the apartment managers flagged those applications so that they knew that it was a black applicant, and they denied them, and they were fined, actually, because that was illegal because of the newly created HUD, Housing and Urban Development Program. But imagine that world where you were very, very limited simply by the color of your skin. And then these bills get signed into law, the federal government actually enforces them, and progress was seen unlike anything prior to the civil rights legislation. And you can see people wanting to just rest on their laurels and say, oh, we worked really hard to get all this legislation. We can finally slow down and stop marching. If there's something to be learned from the long view of history, is that when a group makes progress, there is another group that is anti that progress, and that group don't stop. Racism didn't decide it was going to take a day off because Barack Obama got elected, then reelected. I would argue it got worse. It reshaped itself, it retooled itself, and it came back even more fiercely, and Donald Trump is just one of the many representations of that. He's not the cause, he is the symptom. Where we are right now, poverty, low levels of unemployment, we're very sensitive as African Americans to the economy. I think in part it's because a generation ago, people were not voting on and considering a political agenda of black people a quarter century into the 21st century because we just assumed a trajectory that was going to go straight up, not even remotely close to the case. And so then we have this other example. The U.S. Supreme Court saying, well, you cannot draw legislative districts based on race, even though you may have a particular geographic area in a state that might be like Mississippi, I think is one of the blackest, if not the blackest state population-wise in the country. And if Republicans have legislative majorities moving into our next census year, there's also a reason why the Trump administration wants to move the census up, and they want to omit people of certain nationalities and ethnicities from the census, because if it shows a lower population of, let's say, people from Mexico, then they will not be figured into the population counts and the demographics that are used when you create legislative districts. And let me just go ahead and say this. This is from my mouth to God's ears. If there's a particular area, let's say somewhere in South Central Los Angeles, that is 72% Latino and Hispanic, they should have a Latino and or Hispanic representative in Congress because it's fair. Now, the Supreme Court said you can't do that. You can look at the population and the demographics of this particular area of South Central Los Angeles or the north side of Milwaukee, where you may have a majority of African Americans, but you cannot create a legislative district based on their race. But you can say, oh, the north side of Milwaukee largely votes for Democrats in a 65-70% number. You can draw the district based on that. And if you really drill down, I don't know if it is a sky is falling kind of scenario, the Supreme Court decision. I mean, it's ugly because we know what they're trying to do. They are trying to stifle minority and oftentimes black political representation in state legislatures and in Congress. And I can give you one small example. Well, it's not small, but how it can impact us, let's say, here in the state of Wisconsin. So if we lose, let's say, 6 African-American state senators and or members of the assembly, we lose them because they can redraw the maps in Wisconsin that excludes race and includes partisanship, meaning African Americans and our lower numbers of voter turnout. Remember, we're only about maybe 3%, maybe 3, possibly 4 if we're lucky, of the overall vote total in the state of Wisconsin. Now, we're disproportionately represented in Milwaukee, but in the overall 5.8 million people, probably 3.1, 3.2 million voters, African Americans are nary a speck. So if they redraw these maps to encompass the vast majority of Wisconsin's red, Republican, conservative, Trump-loving geography, and we have less African American representatives in the state Senate and the state Assembly, then you have reduced voices of state representatives that say, hey, we need to retool our school system because African Americans that go to MPS are failing. They're not reading on grade level. Their math isn't on grade level. So if you reduce the number of state elected officials that are black, then you're reducing the likelihood that the issues that impact the black community at its core will get brought up on the legislative floor. But there is something that people are missing. White people are not going to be the majority in this country forever. There's probably 5, maybe 6 metropolitan areas in which white people are not the numeric majority anymore. And as time goes on, white people will, in fact, now I've seen varying dates. I've seen as far out as 2045. I've seen as recently as 2037, where white people, those descended from Europe, Eastern, Western, or Northern, Southern Europe, will be a racial and in some cases ethnic minority in the United States. This Supreme Court decision means that at some point in time, when white people become the minority, they will no longer have the ability to create majority legislative districts for white people because their populations are declining. I need you to really think about this. Think about this even deeper than the people that have been screaming this, oh, woe is me, they're taking away black representation. In the short term, but in the long term, the reflection of reduced white populations in this country is also going to be reflected in Congress and in state legislatures. This decision, if you look at the trajectory of the United States and its population trends, is going to hurt white people forever. As long as our projections are correct and minority population, right now, if you're under 18 in this country, the majority of people that are children in this country are minorities. And that number is only going to get more exacerbated because the children in this country are what we call pre-reproductive age. It's a demographic term, meaning as time goes on, those children, the majority of children in this country are children of color, not just black, but Asian and Latino and a whole bunch of other browns and caramels. When they get to the age in which they are going to start having children, then the majority of minority populations are going to explode. And boom, we've got a Supreme Court decision that says, well, we know that white people are shrinking in the state of Louisiana, but unfortunately, they can no longer have their own congressional district because the black populations in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and other places are growing. Take a break, come back, and dig into this from a little bit of a different perspective. In the short term, it looks racist. But if you look in the long view, this is also what I was talking about just a second ago, how we vote and what we vote for right now. And some of the stuff can be immediate fixes. That's why it's important to vote in local races. When we're talking about voting for members of Congress, the U.S. Senate, and president, those individuals will be creating policies for a future that some of us may not be around to participate in. This Supreme Court decision is looking at the future instead of looking at right now. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. Will be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
At Versity on King, we believe taking care of our community starts right here, together. Every day, neighbors step up to donate blood, helping save lives in Milwaukee and beyond. But Versity on King is more than a donor center. It's a place for health education, community connection, and support, especially for families facing conditions like sickle cell disease. When you donate blood, you're not just giving. You're showing up for your community. Visit versity.org/VersityOnKing to learn more or schedule your donation today. Versity on King, rooted in community, powered by hope.
Still think you're going to use those old chemicals just sitting around under the sink, in the garage, or down in the basement? We're talking things like old antifreeze, paint thinners, batteries, propane cylinders, and pesticides. So don't let them sit there. Get rid of them right away to MMSD's Home Hazmat Drop-Off Centers. It's safe, it's easy, and it's open to all Milwaukee County residents. There are 3 locations open year-round. Let's clean up Milwaukee.
Honest, direct, and always thought-provoking.
Even if the system don't make sense anymore. And that's the part we got to be honest about. Education is not a theory. It's not a title. It's not a category. It's a student, it's a teacher, it's a classroom, and there's learning. Everything, everybody else, including the superintendent herself, are secondary. Assistant superintendents, or whatever the heck you call them, deputy, chief of school, everybody, they are secondary if a child's not learning. The student is the number one thing there. So if we've reached the point where the only way to defend the system is to argue that keeping teachers out of a classroom is essential to education, then we're not just confused. We backwards. And when policy, practice, priorities, and money collide like that, there's only one word for all of this: nonsensical.
Truth in the Afternoon with Dr. Ken Harris, weekdays from 4 to 6, live on YouTube and broadcasting on 101.7 The Truth.
Talking about guns with others might not always feel comfortable, but it could save a life. Here's a way to start a conversation. Your family is going over to your neighbor's home for dinner for the first time. How would you ask if there are any unlocked guns in the home?
Hey, we're so excited for tonight. Before we come over, may I ask a few questions?
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any pets?
Yes, we have a dog.
Great. Do you have a pool outside?
Nope, just a big old backyard.
Nice. Another question. Are there any unlocked guns in the home?
Our guns are stored securely, locked in a safe that the kids can't access.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, let's just talk about what we can bring for dessert.
Learn how to have the conversation at agreetoagree.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the Ad Council.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Make sure you check out theblackcenter.org, theblackcenter.org. I hope I don't have to spell that for you. I hope you guys can at least get that part right. Bunch of viral videos circulating in the social medias of a high school senior asking some of his classmates to read a one-sentence passage with words that a high school senior should know. And some of the young people are literally admitting that they don't know how to read. I cannot stress how incredibly detrimental that is. You can complain about all of the racism you want to, all the structural and institutional barriers that exist. But if our people can't read, you won't even know what's happening to you. And also, we have found, because we've always been fascinated by the fact that Wisconsin is one of the highest voter turnout states percentage-wise. Us, Minnesota, Massachusetts, 73, 75%. I'm not sure if any state hits 80%. They get close to it. 80 is like the magic number. But I'm thinking, like, even if we get 80%, I'm like, wait a minute, some of these elections, the fate of the world is on the ballot. Why are still 2 people out of 10 not voting? Now, there's obvious reasons. People are incarcerated. Felon disenfranchisement is not fair. It is not. It needs to go away. But that still doesn't explain, because it's not like it's 20% of people that are in prison. I'm talking about eligible voters. The highest we will ever get in Wisconsin, 72, 73%. So 28, 27% of eligible voters are not casting ballots. You know what we chalked it up to? They can't read. It's got to be embarrassing to ask for a ballot. You show your ID. You sign the poll book and can't sign your name. I'm also not thrilled with the fact that they are not teaching handwriting and cursive. Now, not all schools, but many of them have foregone that. How are you? We're going to live in a world where people don't know how to sign their name. Where if there is a historic document that was handwritten, and you know they used the cursive back in the day. America's about to turn 250 years old, and the founding documents, the original bylaws and charters, both the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution and its 27 amendments, well, the original Bill of Rights, at least that part is handwritten. They started typing at some point, but imagine not being able to read the way they were originally written, the founding documents, because schools are not teaching it is mind-boggling to me. There's something like 40% of Americans functionally illiterate. Most major publications are written between a 6th grade and 8th grade reading level, not because we want 6th and 8th graders to be able to read the New York Times and the Washington Post, because they don't. It's so that adults can read the New York Times and the Washington Post. Now, I just find this so irritating and fascinating and horribly sad that even if you write our major media publications and using words that should be known and familiar with an 8th grader or a 6th grader, 8th graders and 6th graders, too many of them are not on grade level. So even if we're writing the publications so that they can read it, they can't read it either. And what do you get? A democracy that doesn't know how to critically think. And so what do you get? An authoritarian dictator that uses fascism as his main policy crutch. And I don't know if people are, you hear the term fascism and then a bunch of images come to mind. Fascism is just, you use real simple solutions to complex problems. That's basically it. Okay, there's high levels of unemployment in the Oklahoma Panhandle. Okay, that could be a real issue. And voters feel it, and residents feel, oh, unemployment is too high. Fascism says, oh, it's the Mexicans' fault. Let's expel them from the country by any means necessary. Fascism basically operates like that. It doesn't look at a changing economy, doesn't look at low levels of education, it doesn't look at companies not wanting to hire people or moving their operations overseas. See, all that stuff is complicated. Fascism says, oh, you're unemployed? Oh, there's a lot of drugs in your community? Let's lock up Mexican babies, because that'll be the solution. But when you have a public that can't read, let alone interpret, and I'm starting to see it reflected in our national media, because they can't even call into question certain things. I noticed this was September 11th. Anytime it's a real good example of just too many people have surrendered their intellect. Any other plane crash you see, they all look the same. The debris, the bits and pieces of the airplane, the luggage. Now, if you see, and I don't recommend you look at one, but if you ever look at photographs of an airplane crash site, and it's not like it's something that I do, but since September 11th, because I remember what that big hole in the ground in Shanksville, Pennsylvania looked like, and they told us the plane went down there, and that was the plane that was headed for the U.S. Capitol. Yet where the plane went down, there's no other plane crash of a passenger jet in aviation history where the crash looked like that one. And I would say September 11th was a very unique set of circumstances. Very weird day that day. A lot of stuff went awry. A lot of things happened that day. It's a hole in the ground, and then just like a bunch of just like junk. There were no bodies. None, because they said, they were vaporized. What? There was no luggage, no remnants of it, and every single plane crashed. And there have been many planes that have crashed. Whether it be passenger jets, private jets, charter jets, single-engine Cessnas, there's always a similar kind of debris. You see bits of people, because people don't completely incinerate. And you can't even question it. I posted a video in the Hughes Views 414 Facebook group, which is the Facebook group that corresponds with this radio show. So things that we talk about here and stories and links that I may reference on the program, I'll post in the group. And there's a video that shows the quote-unquote gunman walking into what is like the entryway to the ballroom, and you see a big magnetometer, big metal detector. And he walks in and he has a conversation with a police officer, and the police officer's got a dog on a leash, probably a bomb-sniffing dog. And you see, I think his last name is Cole. Alan Cole, right? Cole Allen? Cole Allen. He's got two first names. It's hard to tell. So you see him walk in, hands are empty. He walks into a room, so he goes off of the surveillance camera. Has a conversation with this police officer who's holding a dog on a leash. The dog is trying to follow, like the dog is tipped off to something and tries to follow Cole Allen into this room. The police officer retracts the dog's leash, okay? The police officer then turns his back. So the doorway that Cole Allen, I think it's Cole Allen, walked into, now that police officer with the dog, he retracts the dog, because the dog is trying to follow the man into this off-camera room. You see Cole Allen walk into the room. While he's in the room, the cop is talking to him. The dog is trying to go into the room. You can see the dog pulling on the leash, trying to go after this guy. Cop recalls the dog, and then the next moment, you see Cole Allen holding a long gun, an assault rifle, that he did not have when he walked into that room. Now, he did have a backpack, but the backpack was small. The next frame you see on their surveillance camera is him walking out with a fully assembled long gun, and he runs through the metal detector. There are 3 police officers standing on the wall. They don't move. There's another police officer standing at the exit way of that metal detector, fires 3 shots and completely misses. And then Cole Allen runs completely off of the frame. You don't even see where he fires his weapon. And to me, not only is it staged, they did a really, really poor job of staging it. It was exceptionally sloppy because they had to know that somebody was going to get the surveillance footage, and the surveillance footage was going to be released. And then the White House released other renditions of the video, which are so painfully AI altered. It is just frightening. But every single newscast you see, the attempted assassination attempt, and we have to make sure that the president is protected. No one can even raise the specter that it was completely and totally staged. And not only was it staged, it was staged poorly. This is how stupid they think the American people are. And here's what's crazy. The American people are proving them right. If I was on some national media platform, that's why, and people, this is very flattering. Thank you all so much when you say, and I think some of you are drunk when you say it, oh, Sherwin, you should be a national correspondent. No, the hell I shouldn't. Because what I just said to you would get my career canceled, and the national outlet I'd be broadcasting for would lose their FCC license if I even bring up the idea that it was a lie in order for Donald Trump to get the necessary sympathy and support so his poll numbers could rise, and also so the Department of Homeland Security government shutdown would end. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
In 1987, the Bucks took on the world and changed basketball forever.
At stake, basketball supremacy in the United States.
Bucks versus the World, narrated by Charlie Behrens, is the new season of Behind the Bucks podcast, presented by Gallagher, your trusted insurance broker and HR and benefits consultant. It's the untold story of the 1987 McDonald's Open, when the Bucks became the first NBA team to face the Soviet Union. Listen now on Bucks.com/plus, the Bucks app, the ESPN Wisconsin app, and wherever you get podcasts.
You're a hard worker. Provide for your family and help out in your community. You've been there for so many others. But when life challenges you, when rising costs, unexpected repairs, medical bills, or simply a rough stretch make it hard to keep up on a limited or low income, you're not alone. Your local Wisconsin energy and emergency assistance providers are here for you, working together to keep you safely in your home and your heat and power on. If you're struggling with high utility bills, facing a disconnect notice, or dealing with a furnace emergency and your limited or low income isn't enough, support is available. Visit www.heat.help or call 1-800-506-5596 to apply for a hand up.
Injured? Call Gruber Law Offices today. One call, that's all.
Literally one call, that's all. I made one call and that's all, worry-free.
One call, that's all. It worked.
Just one call and that's all.
They will do what they say they're going to do. One call and that's all.
One call, that's all means security.
It's literally one call, that's all.
It's a phrase we'll never forget.
Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Join Cousins Club Rewards today. Grab your first sub and your next one could be free. After your first qualifying purchase, you'll earn a free sub and start collecting points for free food, exclusive deals, and even Cousins gear. Sign up today. It's fast and easier than ever on the Cousins Subs app. Earn points online, on the app, or in store. However you enjoy Cousins Subs, your rewards are right at your fingertips. Cousins Subs. We believe in better.
Join March for Babies to improve the health of families. The U.S. is among the most dangerous nations for childbirth. With your help, we can tackle America's maternal and infant health crisis. Join us in Milwaukee on May 16th at 9 a.m. at Greenfield Park in West Dallas for this powerful community event. Connect with families, friends, and coworkers while raising critical funds. Every step counts. Sign up today at marchforbabies.org.
This is The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
In a recent case, commonly referred to as Louisiana versus Calais, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3 that states cannot intentionally use race as a primary factor when drawing legislative or congressional districts. And I want you to imagine at some point in the future, the number of minority districts, maybe even an Asian congressional district or a Latino Hispanic majority legislative district, and then also a black legislative district can all exist, let's say, in the state of California. And then Caucasian people who've got to be a minority in California now, if not now, then very, very soon, will say, hey, we don't have any white members of Congress here in the state of California. That's not fair, because as black populations rise and Latino, Hispanic populations rise and Asian populations rise. California has always had a disproportionate number of Asians. They got a lot of Asians because it's on the Pacific Ocean. That's the first state that you see other than Washington and Oregon when you're coming across the Pacific Ocean. A lot of Vietnam refugees, a lot of Koreans live in California. And then the white people might say, I don't know, 25, 30 years from now when they are a super minority in the American population, they might say, well, we don't have as much representation in Congress here in the state of California. So white people's issues, which shockingly are going to be black people's issues right now, are going to be white people's issues at some point in the future because everything comes full circle. They're going to say, hey, we're going to want and need a congressional district to represent our minority interests as white people. This U.S. Supreme Court decision basically says, tough titty. We can't use race to draw legislative maps. People are looking at the context of this decision right now, and it's short-sighted. And what's going to happen is you are going to have a number of states that are going to draw black districts and majority minority districts out. Absolutely in the meantime. But when districts get redrawn, remember, every 10 years we get new maps. And 10 years is kind of a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, in the United States of America, we've had 25 censuses. We've had 25 censuses and only 27 amendments to the Constitution. I want you to think for a second. Look where this country was in 1789, when the first U.S. continental, when you had no constitution, zero. In 1789, you had no constitutional amendments, right? Zero. Look where it is now. Now, is it perfect? No. But it's not a series of slave-holding colonies with an agricultural economy that was heavily focused on rice, tobacco, sugar cane, and cotton. 27, and that's not a lot of amendments. You would think, now there's been thousands of laws, but 27 amendments is not that much. So 25 census counts, and look at how the country has moved. We've had a black president, and you can do that in only 27 constitutional amendments. So the census counts that we will have in the future are going to show something, and this is making a lot of people panic. It's going to show that Caucasian populations are going to shrink. This 6-3 conservative Supreme Court that is trying to preserve white power in the short term is ultimately going to lose it in the long term and likely forever, because I don't see a demographic trend in the United States of America where all of a sudden minority populations shrink and white populations begin to rise, because the source of white people, Europe, is also becoming majority minority. Man, do they hate that. I saw some video of Vatican City. The Pope got his own city. It was either Vatican City or Rome, because the Vatican is a city inside of Rome. It was nothing but Africans. I was like, oh, the Italians got to hate this. Also, it's interesting, the ironies of history. You know how a lot of African Americans, which I think is a disgusting food combination, eat fish and spaghetti? Fish and spaghetti is a reflection of the cultural impacts of poor working class Italians taking low wage jobs in the Mississippi Delta. Black people fried the catfish, and when we got together with our Italian neighbors and friends, they brought the spaghetti, and even to this day, black people eat fried fish and spaghetti. Imagine that. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be back for hour 3. We're going to be joined in studio by the namesake of Good Karma Brands, Mr. Craig Karmasin. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com. He's the voice for the people and the community's connection to change.
So I was shocked that they let an advocate get on the air, because I was like, man, do y'all really want to know what's really going on out here in these streets? I wish I could have a whole show that y'all could listen to every phone call that come to my. I could do a whole show on my voice message. Just people calling, talking about what's happening. Just off the voice message, y'all wouldn't even believe what I got in my voice message. If I'm gonna start a podcast after, I'm gonna let y'all hear the raw material, because we can't even play it on the air. That's how real it is out here. That's why I ain't got time for all y'all all that extra stuff that y'all be trying to do. I'm just happy that we're able to have these great, powerful conversations, but I'm going to always remind y'all that we got to still get out here and get to work.
The Tory Lowe Show, weekdays from 1 to 4 p.m., live on YouTube and right here on 1017 The Truth.
You've been diagnosed with COPD, but breathing seems to be getting harder. Everyday activities, walking to the mailbox, going up the stairs, talking on the phone take more effort than they used to. You're short of breath more often. Flare-ups are happening more frequently. And slowly, life starts to feel smaller. Is this you? If your COPD symptoms are getting worse, there may be options that can help you breathe easier and get back to doing more of what matters to you. That could mean walking further, spending more time with family and friends, feeling more confident leaving the house, and getting back to the life you want to live. If your COPD is changing, it's time to have a conversation with your doctor. Visit the COPD Foundation website at isthisyoucopd.org to learn the signs of severe and worsening COPD and the right questions to ask next. Take action today. Breathe better tomorrow.
When I was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma, I had so many questions. I didn't even know that it was cancer. Now I do. It is cancer. Blood cancer. It's actually one of more than 100 different types, and they're all treated differently. Now, unlike some other forms of cancer, usually there's no tumor. You can't screen for it to prevent it, and the symptoms can look like other things, so it could be hard to diagnose. I had a fever for weeks. I was so tired all the time, I didn't feel like eating or doing anything else for that matter. And I know that this can feel scary. But if you know what to look out for, you'll know what to tell your doctor. And you'll feel more empowered to take the next steps. Like getting in touch with the people who know the ins and outs and can help with everything blood cancer related. Blood Cancer United. They work one-on-one with each person who reaches out to answer questions and offer resources. Blood Cancer United was there for me, and they can be there for you.
Go to bloodcancerunited.org to learn more.
You're listening to the new 1017 The Truth, founded in partnership with American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. 1017 FM, 1510 AM, WGKB Waukesha, and W269DL Milwaukee, a locally owned Good Karma brand station. More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Welcome to Hour 3 of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I come to find out this might be the first time that Craig Karmasin, the namesake of GKB, has been in studio with me. Well, welcome, Mr. Karmasin. How are you this morning?
So what does it mean in the black community when someone says you're always welcome, but you, in over 5 years, has never been invited somewhere?
Because I wouldn't think to invite you. I think that, hey, Sherwin, I'm going to come on your show. You work for me. I want to talk. All right, Craig.
So that's how I've established things over these 5+ years. Like you think it's like my show, it's not your show. Like I set the narrative.
Not necessarily, but there's always, I see what you're trying to do here. There's always so much other stuff to talk about. Like if there was something specific, we're like, oh, we got to get Craig in here to talk about this because Craig made the news for this, or Craig is involved in this. Let's bring him in. But I don't know if we've ever had anything that rose to that level where I found it necessary to get you. But now we do have
pretty big
one of those situations. So we were on air. It must have been last week, Wednesday or Thursday, received an email at 11 a.m. saying, oh, mandatory team meeting. I'm like, okay. And there's been some changes going on around here. So we were very curious as to what those changes were. We've come to find out that a new Black Media Trust has been created. And it looks like 1017 The Truth is going to be a part of that Black Media Trust. Craig, your motivation or your interest to have 1017 The Truth a part of this newly created trust?
Yeah, well, I think my goal when this entity was created was to create a platform for the Black community and by the Black community. And as I heard that the Milwaukee Courier and WNOV were in the process of being sold, it hit me like, okay, what's going on here? And okay, looks like another white person's buying another Black media company here. And let's see what they're doing and why and all that. And reached out to them, had some communication. We both said, I don't know, is this really our end goal here? And, you know, I had some ideas, but really I give them credit. They came back and said, hey, what if we created a trust that could own and operate these entities? And I was like, deal, I'm in. I mean, I thought it was a great idea. I thought it'd be great for the team, for you, for all our teammates here. And my goal was never like I needed to own this entity. I really wanted this entity to exist and feel like this sets it up to exist for the long term and for the employees to benefit from it.
I don't know if people know the backstory, at least from your perspective. We may have shared bits and pieces of it throughout the years on our various shows, but you weren't exactly encouraged when you came up with the idea to start a black talk radio station in the beginning. In fact, there's probably a lot of folks telling you it was a bad idea, trying to talk you out of it. You didn't listen to them. Do you think that you made the right decision in proceeding and creating the truth? With all things being considered.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so excited that we did it. We did it during the craziest time to start a business. Like we were literally like filling out our PPP loan paperwork and also being like, all right, let's do a startup at the same time, during the pandemic in 2020. But it was just something I felt like we needed to do as a company that I always thought of as like, we're this small company. I'm not from Wisconsin, but I'm here and all that. But I think I had this realization that, okay, maybe that's not who we truly are at that point. We are one of the larger media companies based in the state. We do own something in WTMJ that is called Wisconsin's radio station. And like, the idea that like, okay, if that's Wisconsin radio station, what's Milwaukee's radio station, right? And to me, in a city that has more black people than white people, like, I'm like, I don't think there is one. That, there had over time what WMCS and WNOV at different times represented. I didn't feel like that existed anymore in terms of a true platform that was, giving voice to what needed to be heard in the community. And, it wasn't well thought out. There was no marketing studies done. There was no research done. It was George Floyd was murdered. And like so many people feel like, what have I not done? And what could I do to make a difference? And that's literally where this came from.
A staff was assembled, and hosts and producers were hired. And in the amount of time that we have existed, the accolades, the awards, the respect. Did you think, I'd imagine you probably saw this thing being successful because if you have the building blocks of, a good structure and you've got our value system here at GKB, you probably had to think, well, we're going to be okay. But did you think that we would be interviewing presidents and vice presidents?
Yeah.
Did you ever imagine that?
I mean, you kind of picture that a little bit. Like you think like, a black platform in a swing state like in Wisconsin should be really influential for the black community, for the white community to listen in, for the national community to understand what's going on in Wisconsin. So all that is, is pretty much not that you saw the vision, but I think is stuff you could have predicted. But I think like it may feel like to people who are here that there's like been a lot of change and all that going on, but it's crazy. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a startup that over 5 years later, 3 of the 4 shows are exactly unchanged. Like, it's crazy the continuity that there's also been to have a startup like that where so many of the teammates who started, and of course we think about the teammates who aren't here, who've been part of the growth. But I think, the idea that 3 of the 4 shows are the same shows that launch, and Kyle Wallace also has a show who is leading the content when we launch. So I think it's also been cool to see so many teammates who've been part of the growth, but so many teammates who've been here from day one or close to day one who've been able to be part of what's been created here.
Speaking with Craig Karmasin, he's the man, right, of Good Karma Brands. So here we are, 5 years later, most shows still untouched. This new trust is being created. To the extent that you can share with us, what do you think this means for 1017 The Truth as a brand? And let me preface this by saying, I've worked in media in this city for a bunch of years. Communities have been created around what we do here at 1017 The Truth. Unlike anything I've seen at other radio stations I've worked for, like there's like a family that meets every morning via YouTube and that download our podcasts and have conversations about what we talk about via social media. Does that stay intact with this newly created trust that we're going to be a part of?
I mean, I hope it only grows, right? I mean, that's the goal of why you do something like this. I mean, the exciting thing for me is what does it look like if and when a location is found for Milwaukee Black Media? And when people hear, oh, Milwaukee Black Media is going to be building out a studio here, I think it's just, to me, it's like a next step and it's growth. Because if it's like, oh, we were able to maintain what we had at The Truth, and we look back in year 10, we were able to maintain what we had in year 5, then I think, I don't think anyone's going to be that happy, right? I think the reason you do this and the reason you continue to do things is to grow and create more and more opportunities, and for the community to understand what the goals are of this entity, and for this entity to be stronger together than it could have been if there were these two entities competing with each other.
Well, people notice a difference, and I say that very seriously, because people like continuity, like hearing the same host or like hearing the same time slots. As time goes on, and I can admit I have no idea what the future looks like, but in broadcast, you never know what the future looks like. Will people notice any change? Will there be a change in branding? Will there be new call letters or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. Okay. Once Milwaukee Black Media, though, takes over, I don't have any control at that point. So if Milwaukee Black Media says, I want to change it to 1017, the new truth, the entity will be able to do whatever it wants to do, including, determine, what the team is. And I think we've been able to meet with, with the leaders of that group. And I know for the next month, we're just keeping things, consistent. So you won't notice any changes. But over time, there's always going to be some sort of change, right? So I think the hope is the brand, the truth, is something that we're all committed to and what it represents. And I just think about the aspects of the logo and the thoughts of the mantra and what we put into it, and that what we really still believe all that stuff to be true. We don't think we got a lot of that really wrong at the beginning. And so the hope is that, again, I don't want to be that guy who's like, oh, I see they changed this. Man, see, we got this right. I don't like once you do something like this, you have to be okay allowing whoever takes it over, especially when it's called Milwaukee Black Media and it's going to be run by black people and not white people. I have to be excited for what happens next with this.
What will GKB's role be moving forward? Are you providing technical assistance? Are there any hands-on endeavors that you're going to be involved with when it comes to the trust?
I mean, so for now and for a while, we will own the radio station, right? So 1017 The Truth and the AM station that goes with it, we actually own. So we'll make sure the technical facilities are right for a long time. I would guess as you're trying to get a new studio up and running, this will still be the home of 1017 The Truth. So we'll be providing that. And, but over time, it will be, the public service 1 hour on Saturday mornings that the government regulates, that the owner of the station needs to actually, do this. But I mean, hey, if one day, if Milwaukee Black Media can consummate a sale to buy the radio station, that would be great also, right? So our goal for this is for Milwaukee Black Media to thrive in its operation and, ideally eventual ownership of 1017 The Truth.
Looking back over these 5 years, I think went very fast. I can remember launch day.
I swear I would have thought it was 3.5, when I was when we were doing the press release, and I was wait, but it was definitely 01. It was definitely 21, so it's 26 now. It's been over 5.
We launched January 4th. 2021, and literally 48 hours later, we're off to the races, because then you got January 6th going on, which clearly gave us all sorts of things to talk about, especially from the platform and position of what does that mean for...
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that kind of... It took the station in direction.
Had COVID at the time.
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Ken couldn't even start on launch day because he was down with that mysterious virus. Any moments in the 5 years that stick out to you that you just, maybe it was a show, maybe it was a hire, maybe it was just something that took place wow, this is fantastic or phenomenal? Any major memories you have in these 5 years of The Truth?
It's so weird. The things that jump out to me, going to the first Juneteenth where The Truth was, I was so proud that we were there. Like, because I remember like learning what Juneteenth was when we were in Madison and we had a hip hop station. I didn't know what Juneteenth was like growing up. Like, it wasn't like a thing that I'd ever heard of as a kid. And then like having a station serving the Black community in the Madison area, you know, going to learning what Juneteenth. But I think like it just felt real, like that we were there, and that, like you said, that a community had already formed. Like, people were coming up not just to see you, who people have known forever, but like to see producers and to see like everyone. Like, it, to me, that was so cool. And then just some of those first, like, you know, when you know, cleaning in the, you know, in the neighborhood, you know, whether it was walk-in violence or the community cleanup, like just some of those things where, again, people just came together. Because I think for me, it was also cool because you'd see our fans and the people who are listening and watching you guys every day come out. You were seeing people from The Truth, but you were seeing our advertising partners, some of which you was like, I wonder if they're going to embrace the truth. And then they were out there being part of it. And then other Good Karma teammates from other local brands. And so those events were cool. And then that's the other thing that would be cool is like literally I'd just feel like driving to work and I'd get an alert like Dr. Ken joining, you know, Vince Vitrano right now on WTMJ, or, you know, Tori jumping on ESPN, and, you know, and likewise. I just think the way you all have embraced each other was a lot of what I was hoping in like my perfect world. And yeah, so that those have been the moments that stand out to me.
There's something very unique about the trust, and people, when they hear that, they may be unfamiliar with it. This allows, because we've seen change when it comes to Black media and Black radio stations being bought and sold and kicked around like a football over the last, you know, generation or so. This allows for the actual people, the content creators, the employees, to have some kind of ownership in what this trust is going to be. Can you explain that in like layperson's terms, what that trust means for the content creators or producers and the workers of this new trust?
Yeah, and I you know, I think the people from Milwaukee Black Media and their trustees would be better than me, but the way it's been explained to me is basically the way this is set up is it's like any other business where it's here to, you know, to pay its employees. We call them teammates at Good Karma, but to pay its people, pay its bills, do all that, sell its advertising, making money. It needs to have some money tucked away for a rainy day like any other business or any other person would. But if it can be profitable and if there are profits at the end, instead of those being distributed to owners, those would be distributed to the employees who are vested in it. So whether that's you have to be an employee for a certain amount of time or whatever the vesting periods are, or however they determine who gets it. But ultimately it's set up so that the profits don't go to the ownership. The profits actually go to the employees.
So now instead of saying you're invited anytime, I am going to make the effort and take the initiative to actually send you the calendar invite to have more conversations with you, especially as we're going through this transition period. And I think that your information that you can provide to us will help a lot of us and also the audience kind of get a better understanding of what is to transpire. But let me say this to you, Craig.
By the way, before you say it, that's what you say before you meet them. Once Milwaukee Black Media comes to it, oh, we don't need Craig anymore.
Not true.
We got better answers from those guys.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. With the doubt and speculation and maybe the questionable timing of starting The Truth, I think you got it right. And I say that because our community has seen a lot of things fly by night, come and go. And the fact that we were embraced and still are embraced means that even if it may have not been the best time, first of all, when is the right time? But I think everything added up the way it was supposed to because we were embraced by our community a lot sooner than I thought. Because, you know, you got a white guy owning a Black radio station, right? That in and of itself can cause some conflict.
But Sherwin, I think a lot of people in Milwaukee don't look at the Black community as being diverse. And that was one of the things I feel like we got right. Like, I think if, like, you know, I grew up with a lot of Black friends, but they were not the same, right? And, like, I think a lot of white people who have not been around, like, think about it as, like, you know, a homogeneous community. And I think that's one of the things we really got right was, like, every show has sounded different. Every show has a point of view, but everyone, like, there weren't like long-term beefs that got out of control between hosts and shows. There were times where people may have felt a little off with other people, but I feel like that's like the best of what community is, white, black, any kind of community, where you could sound different, be diverse, as I think the truth has been, but also kind of respect what each other does. Like you and Tori, don't do a similar show, don't have similar views, but there's a respect that I see there in terms of like understanding what each other do.
And that's the other thing about, how we do things here. I have been on every show with every lineup that we've had, and we've had some changes with that. I've been on every show, and every host here has always been welcome on my program, and we all get along famously because a lot of us knew each other and we were friends prior to this endeavor, and I think that continued, even though our viewpoints are different. At the end of the day, we're all friends, we're all teammates.
And that's different, right? Because like I think you're more in the political world, and that's gotten harder over the years, right? Like to be friendly with people who you're on a different side of a debate. But I think also the debates here, to me, feel so much more nuanced than so many other places. It's not just like either you're this or this. Like at The Truth, to me, it's become so layered, like so many of the conversations, right? And I think that's another thing that people appreciate. It's not just like, okay, there's this rhetoric on this side, or it's this. Like, I think it's a real nuanced conversation, whether it's about community, whether it's about politics, whether it's about schools, whatever it might be.
We appreciate you taking the risk, and it looks like it was a good risk after all. Mr. Craig Karmasin, the CEO of Good Karma Brands, it's been a pleasure. And yes, you will be back.
Well, thanks for allowing me to invite myself on.
Thank you, Craig. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 101.7thetruth.com. Need a way to hype up your day?
Hello, is this Shirley?
This is she.
Shirley, you are our Gruber 5K giveaway winner this quarter. Congratulations.
What would you do with $5,000?
Going to look at buying me a pickup truck. That will be some of my down payment.
Stay tuned into 101.7 The Truth for your chance to be entered into the Gruber Law Office's 5K giveaway. For contest rules, visit 101.7thetruth.com.
I love you guys.
I got money now.
You're a hard worker. Provide for your family and help out in your community. You've been there for so many others. But when life challenges you, when rising costs, unexpected repairs, medical bills, or simply a rough stretch make it hard to keep up on a limited or low income, you're not alone. Your local Wisconsin energy and emergency assistance providers are here for you, working together to keep you safely in your home and your heat and power on. If you're struggling with high utility bills, facing a disconnect notice, or dealing with a furnace emergency and your limited or low income isn't enough, support is available. Visit www.heat.help or call 1-800-506-5596 to apply for a hand up.
You ever see the sign above the highway? The number of people that have been killed on the road? My wife, my son, and my unborn child were killed by a distracted driver. They were more than just a number.
Your phone isn't worth it. Buckle up, phone down. Brought to you by the Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
Don't miss one of Milwaukee's favorite summer traditions, the U-Path Ride for Arts, presented by Miller Lite, returns Sunday, May 31st. Ride a fully closed 20-mile course across the Hone Bridge with incredible lakefront views. Kids 12 and under ride free thanks to the Brewers Community Foundation. All in support of Southeastern Wisconsin Performing Arts. 7 a.m. start, finish at UPath Fest on Summerfest grounds. Register today at upathride.org. That's UPAFRIDE.org.
Sweet Talk's medical spa in Menominee Falls. Skip the sterile clinical office feel. Sweet Talk stays on the cutting edge of beauty and wellness innovations in a vibrant, playful space promoting self-love and confidence. Sweet Talk specializes in a range of treatments including injectables, medical-grade skincare, weight loss, hormone therapies, and more. Not sure where to start? Sweet Talks offers comprehensive wellness consultations to create a customized plan centered around you. Because at Sweet Talks, your goals are their goals. Learn more at sweettalks.com.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Join me every Friday at 11 a.m. for the Milwaukee Experience with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee. This is a city that knows how to celebrate, where the calendar is packed with festivals and plates are piled high with flavor, and lakefront sunrises set the stage for unforgettable days. See, here in Milwaukee, every street leads to something worth savoring. It's a place that welcomes you with open arms and where joy is shared through bites, beats, and cheers. The Milwaukee Experience every Friday at 11 a.m. exclusively on The Truth with Sherwin Hughes, presented by Visit Milwaukee. For more information about all of the wonderful things taking place in our great city by a great lake, go to visitmilwaukee.org. That was a great interview with Craig. I see people are giving their thoughts and opinions via the YouTube chat. I'm going to address some of those, particularly as it pertains to one of my colleagues here who is controversial, and that's probably an understatement, but also the most awarded and decorated colleague here at 1017 The Truth, and that is Mr. Tory Lowe. And if I look at things through Craig Karmasin's lens, he's not even from here. He's from New Jersey. And knowing that he does not know everything about the black community, he does know that we all don't think the same, which is hard for even black people to comprehend, because we all want us to think the same, because we may see the issues and the problems, and we also think there's only one way to get there. There is a diversity in thought. We don't like it, because it sometimes goes against what we call conventional wisdom, but that doesn't mean that those disagreeing and disagreeable voices should be stifled. Now, some of y'all have all sorts of stuff to say about Tory. How do I know? Because you tell me about it, but you're still talking about him. And that is the point. Why start a brand new black radio station owned by a white dude and not have a little bit of controversy sprinkled in? That's the point. Now, did it make some people angry and upset? Nah, possibly. But again, that doesn't mean you shy away from the risk. Now, I don't know all of the details of what the new Black Media Trust is going to look like. I have not been promised anything, that's for sure. I don't know what my future looks like, but I will say this. If they are adding new hosts, and they very well may, I think one of those hosts should be Bob. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you?
Hello, Sherwin. You started it again. You didn't let me get on, and you should have let me get on with him.
No. You can embarrass everybody? No.
No, I had something to say that was provocative.
He's listening, I'm sure. Say it now.
Now, he's from New Jersey. To show you New Jersey is something like New York. They're ahead of this country. And that's why the worst element of New York is President of the United States. That's how far ahead they are. It's pathetic. And I wanted to say...
Bob, better explain that for me. The worst element of New York? What's the worst element of New York?
How horrible and vindictive and terrible Trump is doing. The worst element of New York is become the president of the United States. And New York, that's how fast New York is. Now, I wanted to ask him this, Sherwin, which you should have let me know. You proved to me that black people probably got airlines. You seem like an airline, which switches me to two questions. And then with the two questions, I'll get off the air and let you answer. One question is easy, and the other question is a little hard. And I'd like you to answer these two questions, if you don't mind.
I'll do my best.
Sherwin, not you, Sherwin. See, these questions were for him. That's why you should have let me on.
I'll still be able to answer the questions. What's the questions, man?
Okay. Sherwin, will you allow Sherwin to be on the radio and he says some hard things and rough things? Will you allow him to continue to say them hard things and rough things he says? Is the first question.
That's not up to him, and that's what he would have told you.
Well, no, he's the owner of the radio station. He needs to answer that question.
But he's not the owner of the trust where the truth is going to be headed. He made mention that because I said that I would invite him back, and he's like, Sherwin, under new ownership, you may not be able to do that. So he's not going to have a say-so on the hosts and the producers and the working of what we become under new ownership. The truth is being sold. It's going to be out of his hands. So him having content, making content decisions, he's not going to be able to. He can do that now. I'm surprised I ain't been fired yet, but he's not going to be able to do that as we move into this new era of 1017 The Truth in the Trust. What's your next question?
The last question, and then, I was going to get off the air and listen to him, and that's a little hard. You're better than Tuckerson, Hannity, and Rush Limbaugh. Why isn't he making as much money as them? Period. And I will see him answer that question.
That's the easy question, because I don't have Coca-Cola spending $13 million on my show. And better is relative, because you like what I say sometimes. That doesn't always equate to money. Black media does not ever make the kind of money that white media does. That's why it's here today, gone tomorrow. That's why it's bought and sold so much. That's why it's traded so much, because it doesn't make the money that people think. Let me tell you why. If a company does not like black people, the last thing, this is racism at its finest. Racism, we think, is a white person who uses the N-word, a white person who has a MAGA hat on. No. Racism is you prevent black people from excelling financially. And if you do not like black people, and if you don't want to support independent black voices telling the truth, you do not advertise on their shows. That's why we don't make millions of dollars. But again, we don't need to make millions of dollars, because the impact that we can have by spreading information, to me, is more important than how much money I have in my pocket.
Sherwin,
yes.
You have to realize then, and it's my last point, and that this will end that point, in what I was saying. You're part of institutional racism, period.
100%.
That's it. That's what you are.
So
when I listen to Sherwin,
because Bob, I think you're an institutional racist too.
Talk to you later, man. You're getting that. See how you're getting aggravating. See how.
He just hung up. He just said, "I'm done with you, Sherwin." He always says that. People think like, "Oh, I like you. How come you don't make as much money as white conservative talkers do?" Because the formula is different. A lot of times you got to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, with national media, you are paid to say and to withhold information. We are not. The freedom to me to speak how I want to speak. I've said stuff here that I couldn't get away with on WNOV, and WNOV had been black owned since its founding. Oh, I had been taken out to the woodshed. Oh, I can't tell you. And here's how I would know. When I was at WNOV, I would say, because I didn't know what the boundaries were, so I had to test them. I had to see, well, how far can I really go But that's a part of any broadcaster, especially on terrestrial radio. Podcasters can do and say all sorts of crazy stuff because it's not FCC regulated. But on broadcast, it's a little bit different. And the advertising and the sponsors, all of it is structured very differently than other types of media. So here's how I know I went too far. It's not because we got letters of complaint. It's not because the audience called in and got mad at me. When Mr. Jones called the office phone so my show would end and my outro music would be playing, if I heard that phone ringing in the office, I knew I was in trouble and I had to go to Mr. Jones's house and get a scolding. One day I went so ham on Walmart, I could have made Walmart executives cry. I talked about their discrimination and the lawsuits and the racism and black people don't get promoted. This was like 10 years ago. I mean, I'm going in on Walmart. Man, am I just tearing them a new one. So the phone rings after my show. Uh-oh, what did I say? I didn't think me going in on Walmart was a big deal. He's like, Sherwin, Walmart does an insert in the Milwaukee Courier newspaper every single week. We advertise Walmart and their products and services in our newspaper. And he's like, don't you ever. And I see that let's say Walmart was an actual radio sponsor, I couldn't say anything about Walmart. And I think that's the part that people miss. I have legitimate beefs with some powerful entities and agencies in this country. And when those powerful entities and agencies begin to advertise on your program, you can never speak negatively about them. And I want you to think about that. I would be making a ton of money, but my voice would also be silenced. Now, I'm not. How would I explain this? I'm definitely not broke working here. But am I making millions and millions of dollars? No, but also if you make that kind of money, there's drawbacks that people don't even foresee. And a lot of times, believe it or not, it's not worth it. And also, I look at money a little bit differently. Maybe I'll share that with you one day. Right now, I'm going to take a break and come back, grab some phone calls on the other side. If you got questions or comments or want to share a baked chicken recipe, the phone number is the same for all of it. It's 833-212-1017. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes. I'll be right back.
You are listening to The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 1017 The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
Life's better with Drive My Way from American Family Insurance, because we know it's more than just a car. It's your escape pod, your adventure mobile, your memory maker. And we help protect the dreams that drive you. Personalize what you pay for auto insurance and you could save between 10 and 35%. American Family Insurance. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products, pricing, and availability vary based on the way you purchase insurance and by state. Unsafe driving behaviors may increase your rate. American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating companies, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Are you planning a special event? Do you need a personal chef? Either way, make it tasteful. I'm Alicia the Chef, owner of Tasteful Events Catering, and we create customized food experiences for any occasion. We bring quality, flavor, and professionalism to every table. Whether it's a special event or everyday meal solutions, we focus on delivering more than just food. We create experiences. Book today or learn more online at www.tastefuleventscatering.com.
Tap into the best power hour in radio in Milwaukee.
So altogether, you're looking at $1,780 for your mortgage and for your property taxes in a year. And that's before you have to deal with, obviously, your water bill and electric bill. That's a steep price that people have to pay. And based off those numbers I just ran, to afford a home like that, you got to make $65,000 a year. But the problem is, here in Milwaukee, the median household income is only $54,234. That's out of whack. So again, I am all about affordability. I'm all about people getting homes. But what we have to understand is that until homes are more affordable, you can have a supply and demand problem. But the problem that we have here in the city of Milwaukee is that these prices, when people are listing these houses, they're listing them for prices that people really can't afford. And even if you do get the house and you're paying that, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Home ownership is not about living paycheck to paycheck. Home ownership is about finding something that fits within your budget and building equity for the future.
Catch Truth to Power with Kyle Wallace every weekday from noon to 1 p.m. on 1017 The Truth and The Truth app.
Many of our most important memories are made at school. But for children like Victoria, the classroom can be a place of fear and isolation. She wore a bandage over her cleft every day. too shy to speak, too afraid to smile. Everything changed after one life-transforming surgery made possible by Smile Train. Today, Victoria's smile lights up her classroom, a symbol of confidence, connection, and new beginnings. Due to stigma, children with untreated clefts often miss out on school entirely. But thanks to Smile Train, students like Victoria are stepping into the classroom, raising their hands, and finding their voice. Smile Train partners with local experts to support with free cleft surgeries and other comprehensive care, empowering children to thrive in school and in life. Let's help every child walk into the classroom with confidence. Visit smiletrain.org/learn.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The dark brown shades of my skin only add color to my tears.
Welcome back to the program. Don't tell me this ain't Black Talk Radio. I even got my bonnet on. Try to tell me. Well, don't be racist, Xavier. Don't look at me like that. I gotta protect my hair. Don't. If somebody else wears a bonnet, you ain't gonna say nothing. Don't say nothing. I can wear a bonnet.
I'm not against the bonnet.
I know you're not. You better not be against my bonnet.
Where'd you get that from?
The bonnet store. Brittany says, sounds like he sounds. It should be sold. Sounds like he sold the radio station up the river. Smiley laughing face. If Sherwin is losing control of his show, we got to start meeting in folks' basements again. Nobody said nothing like that. And here's the hypocrisy that I've heard over the past couple of days. Craig admitted that the structure they have at Good Karma Brands is not conducive to a black radio station that needs to be owned and controlled by the black people that make the content. We could have stayed here under Good Karma Brands umbrella, but, you know, every so often we hear somebody complain, oh, Good Karma Brands is not black owned. The truth ain't black owned. Like, that's a legitimate complaint. And so when a Caucasian investor says, you know what, I'm not best suited to own and to run and to manage this radio station, it should be in a trust in which it can't be bought and sold by anybody anymore. And it can be owned by the actual black people that create the content. That's very noble. So I guess if you want to compare it to slavery, ain't no slave master going to say, here you go, here's your freedom. Go on. Let's talk to Eddie. You're on 1017 The Truth. How are you?
Hey, Sharon, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. Just some quick observations. One, to me, everything's about money at the bottom line. You made some statements that hit home for me because the people with the money got the power, so no one has total control. The same thing that happened with you at WNOV happened with Michelle Bryant when she was talking about the ex-mayor. She got scolded, matter of fact, off the air and everything. The NAACP, the people that support that. So when you're not independent and you're getting fed by someone, you got to watch what you're serving at the table. It's just that way, you know. As far as you and in your position, I don't see any kind of way that there's a threat that you should be concerned about leaving. You know, to me, you and Homer Bowl shows more experience than anyone on the show, and I'm going to give you a reason why I'm saying that. One time you told me I was very analytical, which I am, I think, and I'm quite sure a lot of other people observe things. I refer back to Eric Vaughn when he was on the radio. It was a discipline. He made sure that you use the right words. You said the words right. You got people that have poor grammar. On some of the show, they use poor grammar at times. You got one person that's very argumentative with people that call. If you don't see it his way, it's no way. It's always the opposite. The other thing is that this particular radio station is geared towards a certain audience. You can't control why. I mean, the reason why, and I don't know the numbers, but what is the majority of minority people versus white people listening to your station? And then the other thing is this here. What is it that the people that control the money and power, are they going to advertise to us? They advertise to us, but it's mostly about chicken, maybe. I'll tell you what, the advertisement is geared towards our culture, what we do or whatever. You're not going to get the same people advertising on the radio as AM 620, 1130, and all these other different places. It's not going to happen. So what I'm saying is that the man probably said, y'all probably at your peak or whatever, and he feels like this is the time. That's what people do. You invest, you make your money, you get to the point where, hey, it's time to get out, go a different direction, and he walks away from the table. But as long as you're getting paid by certain people or doing certain things, it's no different, and I hope this makes sense. There's no difference. How did they get the other slaves to keep them down, to keep them in order? They whipped one, and they got them all together, and they whipped the hell out of this one slave, and all the other slaves fall in line. So as long as the people that's paying you, they call a shot, like you were saying with Walmart. Walmart, the man calls you up. He didn't want to lose that money. Hell, what you're saying, it was the truth, but they had control. I pay to have control. If I'm paying you, you got to do what I say do. If you don't want to fall in that line, then don't work for me. Get your own. So bottom line, the whole country is ran about money. The people with money got the power. The people with no money don't have. And if I want to feed you and I got the choice of feeding you today and not feeding you tomorrow, that's the power I got. So that's the way I look at it. I don't think you going anywhere. I think one person out of all the lineup might have to worry. I don't know. I'm not going to mention no names, but people that know who I'm talking about know who I'm talking about. But as far as you, Homer, and a couple others, I would say I don't think you're going nowhere because you are the. Matter of fact, you're the most experienced person in my mind on the air right now for the things you do, the audience you have. It's about numbers. Are your numbers low? They don't talk about it, but where's your rating at compared to the other people rating on the show? I know Tori Lowe gets a lot of awards and stuff, but I don't think that matters, when it comes down to who's making the money, who's getting the numbers. The numbers count. So if you're not getting the numbers, then, yeah, you got a word. But if you're getting the numbers, you don't have nothing to worry about. It speaks for itself because it's all about what's in black and white. And that's my opinion for the day.
Thank you, Eddie, for your opinion for the day. We appreciate hearing from you. There's also, it's complicated, y'all. I don't know what the future is going to hold. And I appreciate your words, Eddie, and other people that have been very encouraging, but because I don't know what the future is going to hold. There's no guarantee for me. And I'm walking into it knowing that nothing is guaranteed, but I will say this. I have had a latitude here that I have not had anywhere else. And I've worked for white-owned operators before, and here's what I come to find out. I think a lot of times they are intimidated to tell a black person what they can and cannot say, because as we talk and we are engaging in conversations, sometimes real tough conversations with our audience, I think that white operators are learning too, and they sometimes don't know where they can set the boundary because they're afraid that if they set the boundary wrong, that they will be accused of being racist. Where I think somebody mentioned in the YouTube chat, like, 1017 The Truth should have been sold to black billionaire Byron Allen. Y'all, do you understand that could be worse? A black billionaire. First, when you become a billionaire, the billionaire is the most important B. Black becomes secondary. And they have an agenda because they had to do some unsavory things to garner $1 billion. I assure you of that. All skinfolk ain't kinfolk. Y'all know that. And plus, black rich folks are mean. They are. They're terrible. They feel that what they did is the only way because they can always point to their success. I'm going to take a break, come back. I think we have more phone calls than time, but I'm going to try and squeeze our 1, 2, 3 calls we have holding Try to squeeze those calls in. Don't look at my bonnet. I feel like you're not judging me, are you, Xavier? Don't judge my bonnet. I got to protect my hair.
I'm just observing you.
Making sure people know this black radio.
Yeah.
Wait till I walk out into the 3rd Street Market Hall, my bonnet on. I bet nobody say nothing to me. Or I'm throwing them things.
I see a lot of bonnets in the 3rd Street Market Hall.
Man, listen, at Mayfair, anytime you go to Mayfair, there's one time I went to Mayfair to get a watch battery, I saw more bonnets than anything else. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I was also going to mention, like, you going to see a movie at Mayfair and having a terrible experience. What did you expect?
Oh, that's racist.
I'm just saying. You don't remember what they did when The Shop came out?
The Truth with Sherwin Hughes on 101.7 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't touch that dial. The Truth with Sherwin Hughes will be right back on 101.7 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
The revolution starts in our mind, right? You know when Gil Scott-Heron said the revolution won't be televised? Like he didn't mean that you won't be able to watch it on TV. He means the revolution starts in your mind. You nincompoop. Y'all been running around saying that for 60 years. The revolution won't be televised and didn't even know what the hell it meant. It starts with us.
Let him cook. Watch all your favorite 1017 The Truth shows by subscribing to 1017 The Truth on YouTube.
I'm Sherwin Hughes, and I know the power of Stars and Stripes Honor Flight firsthand. As someone who's been on an honor flight, I can tell you it's a day you'll never forget. Stars and Stripes Honor Flight gives our oldest veterans who served in any location in June of 1975 or earlier a free one-day trip to Washington, D.C. for veterans. Airfare, meals, a coach bus tour, and special flight apparel are all included. It's a day of honor, gratitude, and camaraderie. Veterans who served in the Vietnam or Korean War go to flySSHF.org and ask for an application.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer, providing equal employment, development, and advancement opportunities to all teammates and applicants. To learn more about careers with us, please send an email to talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com. That's talentacquisition@goodkarmabrands.com.
You served behind the desk.
You served in combat.
You did 4 years and got out.
You were drafted.
You gave 20 years.
You gave exactly what your country needed.
And so did you.
When you raised your hand and swore an oath to your country, when you put your name on a dotted line, you became part of only 1% of Americans who did the same. You are a veteran.
You are a veteran.
You are a veteran. Because no matter when, where, or how you served, you made a sacrifice for your country, and you deserve support.
If you're struggling with life after service, don't wait. Reach out.
Reach out to a loved one, to a fellow veteran, to VA.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
When your team needs custom gear, don't wing it. Big Frog Custom T-Shirts and More is your local partner for high-quality apparel with hands-on design help and services that actually feel, well, helpful. For your business, teams, or events, Big Frog makes it easy. Visit bigfrog.com/Mequon today.
Happy kids heal faster, and that's why Starlight is dedicated to improving the mental well-being of sick kids across the U.S. Learn how at starlight.org.
Seriously injured? Call Gruber Law Offices today.
More of The Truth with Sherwin Hughes is next on 1017 The Truth, The Truth app, and 1017thetruth.com.
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out.
Al from Sherman Park, thank you for holding. You're on 1017.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Hey, how you doing? Sure. Yeah, I think your owner gave the station a chance to, I guess, mature and start running if they want to. I think the problem with black talk radio, first of all, talk radio is hard. So you could probably have to have a mix of talk and music to stay afloat as a black radio station. But I think where like WNOV failed was they didn't really grow, because every morning you could tune in, you could hear Michelle say the same old thing and the angry thing. You don't want to hear that all the time. You want to hear some growth. You want to hear something challenge you intellectually. And I think the minute you hear a talk show host always going to the same bag of tricks, that's when you say, I'm not going to tune into that today. Let me play some music. So hopefully you guys can find a way to grow, attract a new audience, but attracting a new audience means more money, and it might mean maybe toning down some things or changing some things that are said on the radio. But someone else is giving you money to pay the bills, and in the end, it's the money that keeps you in business.
All right. Thank you, Al from Sherman Park.
Mm-hmm. Have a good day.
Good day, too. Let's talk to Sherman, not from Sherman Park. Hi, Sherman. You're on 101.7 The Truth.
Yeah. Hey, how you doing there, Sherwin?
I'm good. What's up?
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to make a comment, sort of like what the other guy was talking about before, Al. And only reason I listen to this radio station is because of you and Kyle. All the rest of the people, I think they're on here just to hear their names. You one of the people that educates us. And some people love to stay stupid. They don't. You will give us something. You and Homer Blow. Homer Blow had told me to brought the Willie Lynch letters from years ago, and it was on me to go back and look at it. And other people like from this radio station that listen to you, you always give us something to challenge our brain. The other people just want an excuse for everybody else. But again, like I say, most of the other hosts on this show, they only want to shout out their name. It's always somebody else to blame. And you give us hey. If you fall down the rabbit hole, that's because you knew here's the pathway. It's an easy path. If you either go down it or you don't go down it. Read before you go down it, and you always challenge our brains. Like I said, the other ones, they only want to hear the name. And I would hate for you to go, because remember, I've been following you since WNOV, and you was at the other radio station, with the two white dudes?
Oh, Resistance Radio. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Resistance Radio, yeah. Yeah, I was there, and I was happy to hear your voice when you got over here. Was it something after that, after Resistance?
I broadcasted, because The Truth didn't start until December of 2020, so I was building my own online platform. I was just going to be a YouTube broadcaster. Then The Truth came knocking, and I stopped essentially my home online broadcasting on YouTube and then joined The Truth. But I still have my own YouTube channel, which is Hughes Views 414. So if y'all don't hear me here or anywhere else, I'm always going to be broadcasting on my YouTube channel. So I'll be somewhere.
I think that it would have been a powerful team that had you, Eric Vaughn, and Homer Blow got on there. Because Homer Blow, he's that attack dog, and he just said, I'm not going to look for an excuse. You just can't come with an excuse with Homer Blow. And you give us that education. You help us with that pathway of saying, okay, go look it up for yourself. Don't believe me. Go look read it yourself. And sometimes people would rather hear things from other people. And like I say, some of the hosts on this radio station, they love to hear their names. It's always somebody else's fault. They want to tell you what to do, and they have this Donald Trump syndrome. His way is the right way and the only way. And if you say something, you're wrong. You're out of order, or they'll just not accept your phone calls. I've been put on hold sometimes for so long.
Because my show is over. Appreciate you. And thank everybody for your honesty and your very kind words. And hopefully I'll see everybody tomorrow.
Come in with straight truth.
If you acted up, if you were out here doing any kind of foolishness or just something that people know would make your family